Boom. And we are live with another episode of the Brownwater Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cage.
That's right. We have a great show lined up for you today. Finally, we're back talking bourbon on the friggin' show named Brownwater. We've been taking a long break since we've even discussed bourbon on the show. We've drank a bit, but we haven't talked about it. So
I'm thirsty today, though, boys.
Those lips are looking dry, son. And conveniently enough, we have Matt Crittenden from Crittenden Distillery over in the Kiln, Mississippi. He's going to be talking to us about his business, how he got started, why he got started, and as you can see laid out on the table here, we might actually sip on some of his product, and we're going to see what it's all about. So very much looking forward to that. This handsome gentleman over here is a former guest of the show, Captain JJ. We looked it up, episode 31, since you've been on the show last.
Episode 31, yeah.
Yep. And this is, I believe, 139, if I remember what I typed. So it's going to be a great show, but before we jump into all the happenings, we want to shout out all the people that support the show, starting right out of the gate here. Dr. Robbie Williams right here at Southern Magnolia Smiles on Facebook and Instagram. If you're looking for a local dentist, he's right over here on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs. He's looking for your business. All you got to do is give him a call. You can go to his regular website at southernmagnoliasmiles.com or give him a call and book that appointment at 228-215-1202. Moving right along and going to be on the show here, I think tomorrow, Joey, is that correct?
Jesse is
Wednesday. That's correct. Wednesday. Hill Tree Marketing. That's Jesse Hill and his team. If you are looking for someone who can build you a website for any reason, if you need a photographer, if you need a cinematographer, aerial drone cinematography, Jesse Hill and his team right here is your one-stop shop for all things digital. HillTreeMarketing.com. Cruise over there, check in on with him and see all the other websites that he's built, or slide over to our website at brownwaterbanter.com because he built that one too. I'm not going to say it's award-winning, but it is. And you can check out what he's done.
Yeah,
man.
we got the medals to prove it.
Hit him up.
He's going to bring them Wednesday.
He is going to bring
the award.
Wednesday. That's correct.
I don't even know what we won.
He's going to explain it all. So
wow.
Or they won.
Go check him out, hilltreemarketing.com. He can get you taken care of, man, and we couldn't be happier with the product. So moving right along, Sea to Swamp. That's our good buddy Rocky over on Gaucher Van Cleve Road, man. If you need outdoor apparel, if you need rods and reels, if you need fishing tackle, if you need extra tough boots, he has a store that's busting literally at the seams. He had to go up, not, what did you say, Joey, last time? He's got to go up,
not out.
There you go, because he's running out of room over there, which is a great thing. But shop local, man. Go check Rocky out. Like I said, it's hit the interstate. You take Gaucher Van Cleve, head south. If you're headed south, he's on the left-hand side of the road. Just Google it, Sea to Swamp, and it'll take you straight there.
Also does Coast Angler magazine, which
hold on.
Yep.
There it is.
Flash it right there.
Boom.
So if you want to get your business in there, hit Rocky up. Find him on Facebook.
That's correct. Glad to have him as a part of the show, as a part of the sponsor, and we're actually in there as well. So go pick up a copy.
And it's free.
Yeah, it's free. And check that out. All right, last but definitely not least, we have the Downtown Ocean Springs Crawfish Cook-Off. That's going to be May the 28th of this month of this year. It's the 4th annual. They're going to be slinging. Joey, how many pounds do we know?
3 times as much as last year.
Okay, and I think they did like 2,000 pounds last year. So it's a lot of crawfish. You got about 25 teams that are going to be competing.
Yeah, 25 teams, live music, plenty of cold beer, $20 pre-sale, 25 day of, and that's at downtownoceansprings.com.
Okay, yeah, go get your tickets now. Don't wait.
We will be there slinging Brownwater merch.
That is correct. That is correct.
Come hang out with us.
Everybody that buys a ticket gets a ticket to vote on their favorite team. You just drop the ticket in that team's like little basket.
Yep.
So it's people's choice. So it's pretty cool event. So all right, so let's jump into it, man. What possessed you to start a distillery, man? That seems like a super easy business to get into, right?
Yeah. Well, I always kind of tell people, said there was three jobs that you had in Kiln, Mississippi. You cut timber, you ran a dirt truck, or you made whiskey.
There you go.
And I'm making whiskey.
Okay, that's a good choice out of the 3. I like that. I like that. But no, seriously, what's your background though? Before you did, I think you went to college for a a little bit. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, not just a little bit, for a long time.
I know. That's what I'm leading into.
I've got an accounting degree from Ole Miss. Middle of the recession when I graduated. So I was like, well, what do you do with yourself? So why don't I just stay in Oxford? I mean, it's a fun town. So went to law school. Stayed there another 3 years. Met my wife, and stayed, partied for a little bit while longer,
Yeah, that ain't a bad gig.
This dude even looks like Donnie.
He does. I was thinking the same thing.
He's talking. I'm like, this is Donnie Moore and his brother.
It's Hancock County.
Yeah,
Dude. They all look the same.
Ladners or Moran.
Carbon copy, bro.
There's traditional families. So my family's actually from the Delta.
Really?
And my dad's from Greenville and mom too. And so dad moved down here to Bay St. Louis in like '83. And so I was born down here, so I have the accent. You have that kind of unique accent of the Kiln.
Yeah.
You kind of get a little bit of that like country and Cajun kind of
got
mix
that
going.
DeLille swag going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Donnie has put us on the books at least as like what do you call them, ride-alongs or something, to be members of Hancock County, because we're not from over there.
Yeah.
So I think he co-signed for
He
us.
deputized.
Yeah,
us.
deputized us, or what is it before you're actually in the gang? You know, you're just
Got jumped in. Oh yeah.
A pledge. We're a pledge
Yeah,
in
we're
Hancock
pledge.
County, so we're working our way up. You know. But no, we've had a lot of good times over there, man. I don't know if you ever heard the Broke Spoke, but I've been there once or twice too. So, but no, so you got your law degree. Did you practice law at all before you
about
went?
3 years in Gulfport.
Okay.
And, I did a lot of maritime and admiralty type stuff. Actually, I have a master's in tax law.
Okay.
And I did a little bit of that. You kind of do like wills and estate type stuff. Did a lot of real estate type different transactions and stuff like that. Just, practicing law is just it's kind of interesting. I think some people really like it. But at the same time, I mean, you talk to a lot of lawyers. Most of them aren't happy with what they do. They're mad all the time. It's always
pushing numbers.
Yeah, pushing paper. I mean, people come to you. I mean, they never come to you, just use this analogy. They never come to you for the prenup when they're all happy.
No.
They come to you when they're getting a divorce and they're all mad and they want you to fix it. And they think you can fix it in a month, and you're like, well, I'll just tell you up front, it's probably going to be 3 years. And they're kind of like, well, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't have 3 years to waste on this.
Yeah. And so
I want to fix now.
We need to expedite this now.
Yeah.
Chop, chop.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the same thing Josh said, Kovacevic, kind of how he got out of it. He goes, every time somebody would come to office, it was bad news.
Yeah, Josh and I went to school together.
Yeah.
Oh,
always,
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
always
sweet.
bad news. So it kind of wears on you, I would guess.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's really, they call the other day for attorneys a counselor, you really are. At the end of the day, you become a counselor to these people. You just kind of, it wears on you, just like, it's always bad news,
Yeah.
And just, you get kind of tired of it and burn. I wasn't in it that long to get burnt out, but still, it's just like it's like, I don't want to do this. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't bring me joy, It's like kind of like to say, do something you like and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So I just didn't enjoy it, and so, I mean, it's just like knowing to call it and get out. I mean, it's just amazing. It's kind of sad almost, really, you look at some of those professions like the law, and I mean, the depression rates and suicide rates and
terrible,
and drug abuse rates are just,
through
the roof. And it's just like, you talk to them and say, well, why do you do it? It says, oh, I got 3 kids and a house note and a mortgage now.
Yep.
And it's just like, well, I get it.
You could do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people get stuck in that mindset. They, like you said, that routine, that day in, day out, because they're scared to break the cycle.
Well, it's called golden handcuffs too, especially if you're doing something that makes a lot of money and you've
Exactly.
bought the big house or the big whatever, boat, truck, whatever.
Now you got to pay for
You
it.
just can't leave sometimes.
Now it's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my
there
law
you
partner told me. He goes, you're not employable. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you don't have any kids and you don't have a house note. He goes, you can just walk out the door at any time.
That's
And I
correct.
did.
That's correct. That's correct.
Deuces.
That's correct. I'm out of here.
Back in the day, the guys I used to fish with in Destin, they would always say, the old captains, they'd be like, you bought a new truck? Yep, good. That means you'll be here in the morning.
That's true.
Every time
true.
you buy a new truck, they all smile. All right, man,
Yeah.
I got you for 300 more days.
That's good.
I can't wait any longer.
I know. I already started. I'm sorry.
I'm going to take
an
this
ass.
first sip.
Yeah,
good.
so we got the product here on the table, which we're definitely going to get into, but we were going to wait. We did. Well, I waited till we went live. I just didn't wait for you guys. But so what is it? What are we pouring here in this?
This
cup?
is the BIB. This is their 100 proof 4-year BIB straight small batch. So how I stumbled upon it is I'd gotten off the boat and I always stop and get a bottle of bourbon, something different. And I used to drink OF 100. And you and I were talking about it. We like I like the 100 or higher proof bourbons.
Yep.
And so I saw it and I was like, well, man, this is from Mississippi. I'll check it out. So I got it, went home, sampled it, and I was like, man, this is pretty good stuff, dude. I like this. So I kept drinking. I told Joey about it, and Joey was like, man, I'll have to try it out. We'll find out. Well, then he texted me just a little while ago, and I was like, I'm telling you, dude, normally I'll drink a whole bottle in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I put it up on the shelf. I was like, I'm going to leave this one alone because I don't know if I'll find it again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I was at with it. I mean, it's good. It's smooth. And
Yeah,
so-
this is my first time trying it, and I'm thoroughly impressed. This is really good.
Well, I can tell you, we're not going to run out. I've got over 2,500 barrels stored.
Well, it ain't a matter of running out. It's a matter of knowing the right people now that we do.
There you go. JJ's going to be texting you personally.
Yeah. Well, tell us the history how you got into actually whiskey. I mean, distill it. You actually didn't get into whiskey first, right? It was shine first, right?
Well, yeah, I did shine. So, I kind of like to, say, the Kill's is like home, always been a home of good whiskey. I mean, you talk to people across the state, they know the Kill for whiskey. And so, of course, I started with the moonshine, like you mentioned. I did the white shine. It was 80 proof. Called it Kill Shine, just because, I mean, what do you call it? You know?
Hometown.
And it did good, sales was good. It was all grain. It was really it wasn't a whiskey because it didn't go into a barrel, but it was all grain mash. It wasn't a sugar shine like I like kind of refer to a lot of the moonshines. Usually they use a large percentage of sugar.
Mhm.
So that'd kind of blow a lot of moonshiners' mind when you're like, no, I don't use any sugar in my shine. And they kind of look at you funny. He's like, what do you mean? Well, how do you make whiskey then, So they kind of made more like what I'd like to call like a almost like a rum, because they use a large majority of sugar. But ours has always been all grain, and we're just kind of set up to run grain and not sugar. So we did that. And then at the same time, we started putting some in some used barrels, and we did an aged shine. It was 90 proof. I think it sold for like $24, $25. Never really sold that well. Shine market's kind of interesting. When people think of moonshine now, it's a white whiskey,
Right.
or it's a flavored product,
Yeah.
Right.
And so I had people, well, when are you going to start doing something flavored? And I says, we always made whiskey and let the bootleggers flavor it,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
was kind of always how it was kind of done. But everybody wants kind of something that's prepackaged now.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's used to going to Gatlinburg and buying
Right.
yeah.
banana or whatever. They got thousands of flavors.
Yeah, the old smoky
Old
boys.
smoky
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And so, but we never kind of got into it. What's kind of interesting, the proof in alcohol, when you add sugar to it, it's called obscuration. It really messes up your traditional hydrometers and stuff. So you really have to send it off to a lab pretty much to get exactly what proof it is, so you can bottle it so you don't get in trouble with the feds, because the feds charge you by the proof gallon. And so it's like, well, you can buy a $20,000 machine, or you can send it off. And so we just never really messed with it. Kind of when I got into shine, it was kind of plateau, and I kind of knew it. And but I knew the long-term goal was the bourbon. That's what we wanted to get to.
But you should just turn it over like they do on moonshiners, right? They
Yeah,
spin it
yeah,
around.
shake it with the
Spin
bubbles.
it. Yeah, that's 100 proof.
The feds are totally okay with you doing it that way. They're definitely okay with that.
I'm sure they'll take your
Yeah,
word
they're
for
fine
it,
with
right?
it. Yeah. Oh, it had 4 bubbles. Yeah, you're fine. It's 80 proof.
You're good.
Yeah, pay less. But obviously, just because of the fact that it is aged, right? It would be hard to come right out of the gate, unless you waited, I guess, to have an aged bourbon year one, right?
Yeah, so this is 4 years old. I mean, I say 4. I mean, really, we've been going after it for 6 years. I mean, it took me about 2 years to get all my license and equipment in place, and we released this last August. And so, I mean, basically, you're putting it up and you're crossing your fingers. It's kind of like going. People kind of look at you cross-eyed when you tell them 4 years when I was getting started, and I says, well, think about it like going back to college. I said, it's a similar type deal.
True. That's 4-year delay, right,
Mhm.
before you get any reward from it.
Right, exactly. And so they still thought I was crazy. And but we just kind of plowed ahead and just kept going. And so we had, we put up about 2,000 barrels before we ever released this. And that's 53 gallons barrels. That's 400 pounds of whiskey that goes in each barrel.
Right.
Wow.
And so then when you pull it out, you only get about 41 gallons out of it.
Yeah.
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 Get that angel's cut.
Yeah. That's why I call it spirits, right?
Eating a barrel.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, COVID kind of set y'all back, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean,
And then y'all shifted over.
yeah,
during
we did
COVID.
hand sanitizer. I didn't want to mess with hand sanitizer. I started getting all these calls and friends like, man, we got to have hand sanitizer. We got to have hand sanitizer. And so I'm like, okay, fine. So I finally broke down and made some.
Damn it. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let me
So
throw some gel in this.
Yeah.
Shake it up.
I did about, I don't know, 3 to 6 months worth of that. And then we just kind of turned right back to bourbon.
That ain't your passion, just was making hand sanitizer, right?
No.
That's why you got into it.
It was kind of crazy, it just, people wanted us to do it. I mean, I guess a lot of the businesses like the restaurants and stuff needed it.
Yeah.
And
Was it lucrative? I mean, it was a.
I mean,
you make-
we did all right with it. I mean, we didn't make a killing with it. I think some people really kind of got, it cost us a lot of money to make it. And so, of course, we
Right.
sold it for more than what you could buy stuff at Walmart or.
Yeah, you're
some
like,
of the big
I'm not
box.
Johnson & Johnson, been
Yeah.
producing the shit for, 40 years. Like,
Right.
I had to change some equipment.
Right. And so, it's some people kind of got a little upset with me, but I think for the most part, people were appreciative. But, it just wasn't our core business. It wasn't
Right.
what we were set up to do. Wasn't what we wanted to do. But, strange times. So you do strange stuff, I guess, and I think people in the end appreciate it and kind of realize it. I mean, a bottle of hand sanitizer has more alcohol than these bottles of bourbon have in them, and I was selling it for less.
Right. Right.
Damn. I didn't realize that it had more, it has more.
Yeah, the proof was higher on it. I mean, we had to make, it had to be a real high proof to make it, and then you're basically using glycerin, which is like a
gelatin, right?
it's like almost like a vegetable. Our stuff was more liquid, so it was almost like a thick like a gear oil, but it's
Yeah.
like a natural vegetable oil or something.
Right.
And it's one of the few oils that are readily mixed with water.
Got you.
Kind of odd.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it was kind of high proof, and basically all that did was keep the alcohol on your hands long enough
Correct.
to kill the bacteria.
Correct.
We never made the gel stuff, so all this stuff was sprayed, but it was kind of weird. You couldn't find bottles and and dispenser.
China had them all.
Yeah. So all your spray bottles are made in China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's made in
Everything's
China.
coming out of China. It's crazy. Yeah.
So you couldn't get them. So we were going to like Dollar Trees and dollar stores and buying every spray bottle they had.
Right.
And then, like a good old moonshiner, we got some milk jugs and we're selling the milk jugs.
Just put a sticker on it. Just
That's
put
the
it
best way
everywhere.
to do it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, whatever works. Yeah. So I would assume that your tax and your law background, that the hard work you put in there paid off, at least help getting the business off the ground and get it started, right?
Oh, yeah. Doing all the licensing and dealing with all the regulations.
You spoke the language.
Yeah. So like I turned in my, back then it was a long wait to get your permit from the feds. So I turned that in and submitted it. And the lady calls me. She goes, first of all, your bond is never right. So I fixed that. But she goes, other than your bond, she goes, you've had the best application I've ever seen.
Yeah. You're
She's
like,
like,
yeah.
know a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, oh, yeah. And you need a north pointer on your map.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, no
Done.
problem.
Yeah. That's
Not
easy.
a problem.
But they got to tell you something. There's no
No
way you can
shit.
submit it and
Yeah.
be perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
now you don't even need a bond for the feds.
Right.
The state still makes you have a bond. But basically, it's like, okay, so what are you going on this bond? And so I just corrected it until she's like, okay, that'll work. And then I sent it to my bonding company. I was like, okay, bind this bond. Let me know what I owe.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn. So what is the red tape like getting it off the ground? I mean, is it I can't imagine that it's streamlined or efficient.
No, so it's kind of interesting. The feds have an application, and it's pretty, kind of laid out if you read it. I mean, it's not too difficult. I mean, you got to have an actual business location. You can't do it in your garage, of course.
Right.
Joe, you need to clean that equipment out. Keep going.
Yeah. And so,
Hand sanitizer.
certain locks
Right.
and different things that they want you to have, and just a kind of a long drawn out. They want a background check, fingerprints, and stuff like that. And they want a drawing map of your place. Back then, you had to have a bond. Just different stuff. Who owns it? They want to make sure you're not in the mafia and stuff like that.
Right.
Organized crime.
Okay.
It's none of their
Because they used to run it.
That's
Yeah.
It's
understandable.
none of their business.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess for the listeners that have like a suppressor or something, it's a lot of the similar type.
Right.
paperwork,
Right.
NFA type stuff. And so, and again, just like the NFA stuff used to be, you send it to the feds and you cross your fingers and you hope everything's right.
Yeah, and you wait for 8 months.
Yeah. I think back then it was like I waited like 12 or 18 months or something crazy.
Jesus.
They've got more people now, but it was crazy back then. And then once we got that done, the state actually does not have the paperwork for a permit for a distillery. So you ask yourself,
Wow.
I believe that so much. God, I love our state, but damn, I
Great,
believe
yeah.
So
that.
what you just draw one out for
Yeah.
him, a color
Well,
or something for
so
him?
So this
basically-
is how we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
she's like, well, you got to have a federal permit first. I was like, yes, ma'am. I was like, I've already got that.
yeah.
And she's like, well, and so basically it turns out to be a liquor store permit.
Really?
And so you submit your federal permit with basically a liquor store permit. And the guy comes out of Biloxi, and he comes and walks around. He has no idea what he's looking at. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is pretty cool. He goes, you can't serve to anybody under 21, right?
Oh
Like,
God, you
yes,
should have
sir.
acted dumbfounded. Be
Here's
like,
your
oh,
sign.
there goes my whole model.
Yeah.
I'm
screwed.
done. I'm
Yeah.
screwed.
So, it's kind of funny, and but he's like, oh, well, unless you're ready today to start, you might wait to get your permit. I was like, no, we're here. I want my permit now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not waiting because, well, if I wait, then it's going to be something else is what I figured.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they issued my permit. I think it was December. And then so for the next year and a half, I would get like random emails or letters and say, Mr. Crittenden, we don't have such and such for you. Can you please submit it? It's like, okay, whatever. It's like, you've got that, but I'll send it to
Drag
you.
your
Yes.
feet.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then I get going and everything. And then for the feds, I have to submit several monthly reports every month. And they're due the 15th. And so somebody had told me along the way, hey, send a copy of your report to ABC in Jackson. And I forget where I read it or somebody told me, one of the other distilleries in the state or something. So I'm sending the copy of the reports and I get a call. Says, Mr. Crittenden, I don't know why you're sending us a copy of these reports. I said, me either. I said, but somebody told me to do it.
Just to be safe.
Just to cover all my bases, man.
I'm CYA,
And
baby.
so about 6 months later, I get my warehouse going and we're storing whiskey out there. And I get a call. Well, Mr. Crittenden, we need to know exactly how much you're storing out there. And I said, well, I got good news for you, man. I said, you've already got it. I've been sending it every month.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, really? I said, yep, sure do.
It was in those reports I sent you.
All those
God
reports that
damn.
you asked that you said you didn't need. Guess what?
Can I grab that one from you?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. Pass that this way once you're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flash that to the camera, Joey, so people can see it. Which one?
That's the 4-year-old bottle and bond.
You got to cover his face, or do it at the one right next to you. How about that? We'll switch it over. Yeah, there you go. Spin it. The label. Is that it? It's the
Nope,
lights.
the other way.
The
There you
lights
go.
are gonna
Come
get
on.
it.
The lights
It's
come.
Joey's first
The
time.
lights are gonna get it.
That's right. There you go.
There
Now I can
you
see it.
go.
Spin it. Spin
Bam.
it. Spin it. Spin it.
Bam.
So
That's a nice label, man.
It's a great label.
yeah,
Badass.
actually, my neighbor across the street,
And it's got the
her
sip on
son
it.
was in Nashville.
Sips on.
And so he had this graphic artist that usually does like CD labels and stuff for country stars.
Okay.
And so we got to talking, and she did this label for me. I kind of told her what I wanted, kind of old school look, nothing like too fancy, too out there.
Right.
Uh,
It's classy.
yeah, right. Just kind of a classic kind of like label. And so I work with her, and she does a great job for me. And just one of those people it's like you can talk to and they know exactly what you're saying. I
Correct.
think it's hard to find
Right.
somebody like that in business. Communication.
Well, I think the big thing that was one thing that besides I got my own bottle. I don't need your bottle.
JJ's
You
come
already got my
prepared, son.
$42.
Yeah.
No, but I think what got me, that was one of the things that kind of pulled your eye to it was it's the old school looking
Correct.
bottle, old school things, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. So I checked it out. Of course, I'm in the whiskey store, but if you look on the back, it has some of the family history on it as well. Correct?
It does.
Yeah. So it talks, it carries on some of the, and I'll, me being a history guy, I was like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. I'll
Yeah.
try this out. See what this is
I'm
all
really,
about.
I'm really glad it's good because it would have been awkward if it would have not been good on the show. But it's really good, dude. I'm
All right,
thoroughly-
guys, thanks
yeah.
for coming in.
Yeah,
man.
well,
Gotta go.
No, it's no, this is really good stuff, man.
It is,
I mean,
all,
for
almost.
4 years.
How proud are you of this?
You
Like you
should
said,
be.
4 years, that's a gamble. And I'm gonna assume you had a few dollars invested, and I'm gonna also assume that you don't know if people are gonna like it or what the response is gonna be. Man, that's a big jump.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't. I mean, we are proud of it. I mean, I taste it and people love it. I mean, they compare it to what they usually drink or
Right.
something. Of course, what their base mark or benchmark is, and most people love it. I mean, we did the bottle and bond because it tells you that hey, I did it all grain to bottle.
Correct.
that was the big thing for me too.
Correct.
Yeah, and so a lot of these labels now they've gotten a little bit more transparent. But if you end up looking on them, they'll say distilled in Indiana.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and we've had this conversation.
Yes.
And another good buddy of mine, Sydney, who I hope's watching, listening right now, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. Explain that process with that buying it from another distillery and then just aging it in your barrels. Is that
Well, so it just depends. The company up there is the old Seagram's plant.
okay?
And so they're just pumping out liquor. And so you can go to them and buy aged stuff already ready to bottle. So, I mean, you don't have the risk of holding it for 4 years.
Okay.
Right.
So from a business model standpoint, I mean, it's really convenient.
Right.
You just slap your label on it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
So
I
we
mean,
talked about that.
yeah.
You're just a branded company at that point.
Correct,
You're
correct.
not really producing anything.
And you can't control your flavor profiles, really, right? Or can you as you barrel them?
I think they have some different mash bills that you can choose from.
Okay.
And aged, kind of give you pretty much in the ballpark of flavor there.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of control there, but for the most part, you're buying somebody else's mash bill, somebody else's juice and putting it in your bottle.
Right.
Cheating.
And kind of cheating.
Well, kind of, yeah, but I mean, it's not wherever you're from. It's not a Mississippi product, or it's not a
Correct.
Alabama or Louisiana or where you.
Because you're getting your corn from Mississippi.
Yeah, we get our corn out of Yazoo City, and it's truck it down here on an 18-wheeler, and they deliver it to us, and so. We're kind of fortunate in that regard. I mean, Mississippi, the Delta's got some of the richest
Right.
fertile
Yep.
soil. in the
Right.
world.
Right.
So, I mean, how do you not use, Mississippi products?
Right.
And so that's kind of, we really wanted to set out to make something that's truly Mississippi. Now, I will go ahead and tell you, I mean, it's too hot in Mississippi to grow barley,
Mhm.
Right.
so there's certain things that just won't grow here very well. But, you kind of understand, I mean, I only use about 12% barley in this. But our corn, we always source that out of Delta. Our wheat, we always source out of the Delta, and it's also convenient. I mean, why would you ship something
Right.
from somewhere else if you can get it right here? And I think in the wine, they use a fancy term called terroir or something. And somebody might correct my pronunciation of that. But basically, it kind of gives you regionality.
That ain't a Hancock County word, so I'm going to go
No,
ahead and
yeah.
applaud you for getting
I'm
it as
gonna
close
give
as you did.
That's a
There you
big
go.
round of applause because
Yeah,
I know the
I would've
internet's
butchered
fixing
that.
to eat you alive
Nah.
on that. I'm like, he didn't say it.
They're good.
No, we ain't got no wine connoisseurs in
No,
this
I don't
audience.
think so. No.
They might drink it, but they ain't pronouncing
Right.
that
So
correct.
the other big question is, not to cut you
No,
off,
go ahead.
but is the white oak barrels, where you getting your white oaks from Mississippi, huh? Because there's got to be a white oak barrel, correct?
Well, it's got to be white oak. So the problem with white oak from Mississippi is it grows too fast,
Right.
and so the grain's too wide and it leaks too much.
Leaks too much fluid.
So
So
it's
you're
gotta
getting
be
that out of
tighter
like
grain.
where are you getting it out
So
of?
most of my barrels come out of Kentucky, some out of Missouri. I got some. There was a company, and I think South Carolina, and so you think, well, great, I can get some barrels from the old South, I guess. and
Right.
start,
Right. Being
keep it all Southern, and they just didn't. I got a load, and they just didn't. They weren't up to the quality.
quality, yeah. Well, them boys in Kentucky got it figured
Yeah,
out. I
they-
mean,
they've
done
a few.
I mean, I've been up there and I've been to the Maker's Mark Distillery before, and look, they got it figured out.
Yeah,
Like, I've been making it for 400 years.
yeah, and I'm
You
not
know?
going to set up and make my own barrels.
Right.
No,
I
no.
think you might could get up. If you got up around Corinth, up there in northern part of the state, you might could get some white oak
that slows down a little
Yeah,
bit,
but-
doesn't penetrate. Yeah.
Most of it kind of comes from that kind of like a horseshoe shape from like West Virginia through the Ohio
Right,
River
right.
Valley and kind of goes over into Missouri into the Ozarks and
'Cause
comes back up.
If I'm not mistaken, besides your mash bill, a lot of the flavoring comes out of the wood oak itself, right?
oh
or
yeah,
out of the
they'll,
wood,
they'll
out of
tell
the
you
oak tree.
60 to 80% depending on who you talk to. You know.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's where a lot of your flavoring comes from, is out of the oak barrel, which is crazy.
And nobody can really tell you what goes on in a barrel. Like you talk to some people, and everybody's kind of got their theories.
Right.
But I can kind of tell you what goes on in a barrel, but every barrel's different.
It leaks. It leaks a lot.
Yeah, they definitely do that.
Yeah.
So leakage and evaporation. But I mean, you get they char them. They come to me pre-charred, and we fill them.
Right.
And so we try to fill them within a month because they're kind of like an old wooden boat.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
They will
Yeah.
dry out and they will leak like a sieve.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we try to fill them as soon as possible.
Timing's everything on that.
Yeah. And then we put the bung in them and we put them out in the warehouse. I mean, you're going to lose about 10 gallons volume.
Right. Right.
in
Right. Because
4
you're
years.
going with a real barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't treat them or anything to try to stop the leak.
I got a
No.
picture off of
Yeah.
your Facebook page here. You can't see it, but I'm gonna flash it to everybody else watching. It's a bunch. These are your barrels in your warehouse. Came right off your Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Is this for the bourbon? These are the
that's-
bourbon barrels here in your shop.
That's pretty much all bourbon. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
it right there
there you
behind
go,
you.
right
That's
there.
right.
yeah.
Yep.
So this was an early picture of when I didn't have my warehouse in the back yet. So these, you can kind of see there's a little tree on these barrels. These are the ones out of South Carolina I was telling you about.
Okay.
Yeah,
So these are the ones you kind of weren't happy with.
Yeah, they're kind of, it's kind of hard to tell from the picture, but the heads weren't set in even, so they were kind of wonky in the heads.
Gotcha.
Some of them held closer to like 59 gallons instead of 53. Had some leakage issues with them, different things. Just guys trying to get started up, but
Yeah.
then, you got to have a good product.
Correct.
Quality control.
But
Yeah.
the ones in the background you see is actually what we're drinking today.
Okay.
Sweet.
So these come most of them in the background were from Kelvin Cooperage, and those guys actually came over from Scotland,
Oh wow.
and
Yeah.
so their business kind of started. They were exporting bourbon barrels for Scotch,
Right.
Okay.
and so then they were like, well, hey, let's start a cooperage in the States, build these barrels. We know exactly how we built them, what they are. We know the quality of them. We'll send them to bourbon country, let them do their deal, and then we're going to break them down and ship them to Scotland.
Right. Because the Scotch doesn't have that one-time use. Blah blah
Right.
blah. They can.
So they
Make
put
multiple-
bourbon in them and send them over there and they do scotch in them.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So basically, all your world's colored spirits, your aged spirits, start with American bourbon.
Right.
We had, you think about when it started, we still had vast forest in this country. And so, we would cut the wood down, make staves, make barrels, age our whiskey, and then we would export those barrels and they'd get reused. So Scotland, go to the Caribbean for rum
Right.
and go down and make tequila. So, if you ever get some of those different rums and tequilas that are really aged and you're like, man, and, if you're a bourbon drinker, you taste them, you're like, man, this is really good because it's got those
It's coming out
bourbon
of coming out of the wood.
Well, I think at
Yeah.
New Year's, where we were over at the neighbor's house, and he had that bottle of rum, and we were tasting it. I don't know if you. I know you were there. I don't know if you were there.
I was there for New Year's. Yeah.
Oh,
New Year's,
the bourbon,
yes.
yeah, with
The bourbon,
yeah.
it had the bourbon profile, but it was actually a rum.
Yeah.
But I was like, because he was like, taste this, and we drank it, and I was like, man, that's a good bourbon. Where'd you get that? He's like, that's rum.
That's a rum.
I was like, what?
I'm still trying to get used to rum. I'm not a huge.
I'm not a rum guy. So when I spent time in the Bahamas,
Yeah, I'm not
That's
saying
all
there's
they
not some out
drink,
there that ain't
but-
good that I just haven't tried yet, but the ones that I have, I'm not.
No,
too good on.
I'm not. I've never been a rum guy. I'm kind of with you. I'm not a rum guy.
Yeah.
I've tried a bunch of them.
I want to go back to the bottled and bond and explain to people that are maybe not hardcore bourbon drinkers just first of all what that is and the commitment level that you took to make that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So bottle and bond, number one, is your first food purity act in the States.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I'm glad it was bourbon related.
yeah.
the
so-
first
right?
regulation we're going to put on food is going to be about our whiskey
Bourbon.
and our
Yeah.
bourbons. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
let's
that was
go.
Colonel Taylor that
Yeah.
pushed that, correct?
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. So
Look at JJ, a little history over there.
it's on the
Watch
side
a
of the
lot of
bottle, the federal reg, but basically it's got to be 4 years old. It's got to be distilled at one distillery and bottled there. It's got to be from one season. There's 2 distilling seasons in a year.
Correct.
And so it's all got to be done on one site. And so basically it just, confirms that like, hey, this was all done at this one place. It's this one whiskey. It's totally traceable. We know where it came from. We know who made it.
Yep.
All that type stuff. And so you won't see, we're talking about people that source whiskey. You won't see that on a source whiskey because they can't.
Correct.
They can't meet the regulations. Of course, it's 100 proof, so I mean, you kind of commit to that 100 proof at that point. Some people, they're used to other whiskeys, that are 80 and 90 proof. You
Right.
see a lot of that. But I think, there's a lot of people, just like JJ would say, is like, hey, man, it was 100 proof. I like a good bottle
Yes.
of bond.
Yeah.
Yep.
And totally, I mean, and then I get some people, they'll tell you, when I did my shine, oh, well, if it's not 100 proof, it's not real whiskey.
Yeah. No, that's
Just drink it.
Just shut up and
Just
drink it.
shut up
That's
and
all,
drink
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Let me try yours. That's
yeah.
what I told him. Let me try
Yeah.
yours.
And so it's all those kind of things kind of wrapped up in one bottle, and it just kind of lets you know, hey, this should be a good product.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's
What about on the back end from your perspective? Does that I would assume that increased cost, right?
yeah, I mean, when you're looking at something like I said, it's at 100 proof, so I didn't water it down to 80 and stretch it out.
Okay.
So there's more. We use a measure in the industry called proof gallons. A proof gallon is 1 gallon at 100 proof. And so basically, you have more proof gallons in a bottle, or more alcohol in that bottle. And if I was at 80, I would just water it down, a whole nother 10% to get to 80 proof. And so
cut more bottles.
yeah,
Right,
or
right.
get 10% more out
Yeah.
of it.
Because that's where that whole 80s, when you do something, you go, oh, we're 86 in that, and we're throwing it out. That is actually a bourbon phrase.
Is it? I didn't
Yeah,
know
that
I
came
didn't
from
know
the
that.
bourbon industry is, hey, we're going to 86 it because
We can cut it.
we can cut it, get rid of it, or they'll proof it down to 86 proof and sell it and blah, blah, blah. So that's actually a bourbon thing too. I'm not as dumb as I look.
Yeah. Where did you learn?
Sure
all
could
this?
have fooled me.
It's one thing.
That's what Megan said.
You're right. It's one thing to want to do something like this, but you didn't. I mean, everybody starts somewhere. So how did you start? Like, I get having a leg up, being an attorney, and being able to navigate some of the legal side of things. But what about just straight making bourbon that didn't taste like shit? Like, where and just to start, like, how'd you do that?
So I'll tell you an interesting
YouTube?
thing. No, well, interesting thing they kind of tell you in law school, and at the time you kind of, they don't teach you how to practice law in law school. They
Right.
teach you how to teach yourself.
Yes, this is correct.
Right,
So is
right.
healthcare is the same way.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And so you're basically, they teach you how to teach yourself. And so, I talked to some old timers, you learn something from them. Like I was kind of mentioning earlier with the kill shine I made an all grain product, and they kind of made more of what I'd call a sugar shine.
Yeah.
So none of the old timers had any experience doing 100% grain mash. There's obviously some technical issues there with trying to do that. And so I did a lot of reading. I sat down and read a lot, and I finally found this one company that was in Kentucky, and they make a good whiskey too. Wilderness Trail. I don't know if you've ever seen that here. You don't see a whole lot of that, but I found this article that they had written, and basically these two guys are scientists, and they have gone around the world consulting for different distilleries, ethanol refineries, you name it. If they produce alcohol, they consulted on it. And they had this article, and it just laid it out of, how do you make bourbon? Because, the first batch I did, I put all my grain in and I cooked it. Well, that's not how you make good bourbon.
Right.
So, you want to cook different grains at different temperatures. You got different gelatinization temperature, where they kind of, they cook off, and some of them you want to cook hot, some of them not so hot.
It's a recipe.
Yeah, it's a recipe. It's
Well,
kind of
it's chemistry.
Yeah.
yeah,
right?
it's chemistry. It's a lot like
Yeah.
bacon,
Yeah.
And so I found this article, and it kind of clicked. And then with my still, I run a bourbon still just like they do in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's just 12 inches instead of 48 or 72, and these ginormous ones look like a fire hose putting out alcohol.
Right.
Mhm.
But and so we tried to run it, and was having difficulties. And so finally, I picked up the phone and called the manufacturer and said, "Hey, look, I've tried to run this thing every way I know how." I said, "I've got some old timers here." I said, "How do you run this thing?" He says, "Well, I'll send you a sheet." And so he sent me this 5-page document of how to run this still. And so we tried it. It still won't run right. So one thing that affects this still is barometric pressure.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hurricane's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Pressures are coming.
Yeah.
and then water boils at different temperatures at different elevations.
Correct.
So
Right.
all this document was kind of set up for Kentucky.
And the kiln's below sea level.
Kilns.
Not quite, but close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ain't far.
Yeah.
So we actually run it a lot slower than they tell me you're supposed to run it. Which I think kind of actually ends up helping the flavor of it.
Okay.
Mhm.
We ferment at colder temperatures, and they kind of slower, get you a better flavor profile. We do several things that are kind of takes you a little bit longer, but we think produces a better product. But really, I mean, it's the first 6 months was kind of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, I've got like the first barrel sitting over the side, and somebody come in one day is like, "Oh man, I got to have a taste out of that." I was like, "Nah, you don't want to taste of that."
Well, I was going to ask you how many trials and error did it take to get to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, it probably took me 5 to 10 batches to really get it figured out and get it hammered out, and then we still kind of learned.
What's the length are you tasting at to say this one's good, this one's not? How long are you waiting in between there?
So, I mean, we kind of taste it as it's coming off the still to make sure we're getting the flavor profile we want at that point. I mean, then after that, I mean, you can go pull a barrel, at a year and you taste it, and it'll have a lot of the good flavors you're looking for. I mean, after 6 months, you got a lot of your color,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes.
So you're not doing this overnight. This is a process.
No, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a process, but I can take you out there in the warehouse right now, and we could pick a barrel,
Right.
and you can say, "Oh, that I don't like that one. Oh man, it's really good." We could come back next month, and you'd have a totally different.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
Totally
they
different
change.
taste.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it'll change a lot. Just summertime when it's hot, you get more evaporation and it changes. I mean, they'll just change, with the seasons.
Well, and I guess also too the amount of times that it's going in and out of the oak itself, right?
Right,
Because that's a
that's what I was gonna
continuous process, right?
Continuously going in and out of the barrel, right? Because as it
Right.
cools, it draws back out of the wood.
Yeah, that wood
And
kind of
then-
gets tight.
Right. Tightens up, and then
Well,
like an old wood boat.
I've
I don't
even-
drive cotton
yeah.
on it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I've even read that, on these other distilleries, they pay for the higher elevations and the cheaper ones on the lower because the higher barrels.
Well, heat rises, so they're
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
hotter,
they-
right?
Yeah, they get hot. So you bring that up, and so people ask me, what's different about bourbon down here? I said, do you ever notice our climate? I said, we get about 5 freezing nights a year.
Yeah.
And so
It's-
basically,
It's already 100 degrees, and we're only at what today's May 16th.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
You know what I mean? Today I was like, God, already?
Thank you,
For
Jesus.
real?
Bring it. 'Cause
Yeah.
You know why? It's a calm Gulf of Mexico.
Well,
I'll
yeah.
dig that all
Okay.
day long.
You got a different perspective than
Yeah, I
than the
hate
rest
the
of
winter.
us.
I
Yeah.
hate the winter.
Yeah.
so
With
like
the passion.
whiskey doesn't really age much below 60 degrees.
Really?
okay.
So that's why you can get like a Scotch that's 20 years old.
Right.
It's still, we kind of talk about it being like smooth, mellow.
Right.
But Scotland stays cold, and some of
Oh,
those are
yeah.
aged in caves, and so I mean they're staying around 60 degrees, so
Right,
you can
you're
stay
right.
that for 20 years, and you don't get over oaked. But above 60 degrees it ages, and so down here I think we get an 8. We put 4 year on it, but I think JJ. I mean, tell me your opinion. I mean, it tastes older than 4.
To me, it
tastes
tastes
good.
like a 10-year-old bourbon. I
Yeah.
mean, it really does. It's got those. It's got a lot of the characteristics of a 10-year-old bourbon.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
Now I've drank
That one.
that bottle, and every bottle's different that comes BIB, obviously too. But me
Yeah.
personally, I think it tastes like a 10-year-old bourbon. And
Yeah.
for it to be a 4-year-old bourbon, I was kind of like, man, that's really impressive. And I
Yeah.
was kind of amped because it's Mississippi now. I'm a Florida boy that transplanted over here, but
You've been adopted.
I've been adopted. I don't know if that's a good thing or not yet. I haven't figured that out yet.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sydney, our buddy, is also another big bourbon drinker. Joey's left the table. Okay. He's also another big bourbon drinker.
The bourbon
and,
works.
yeah, he said, what did he say here? He said Wilderness Trail uses a sweet mash, also a very good juice. But Sydney, if you're still watching, I'd like to know if you've had the bourbon here and what you thought about it. Because Sydney's a guy, a friend of ours, who's went from being an IPA beer drinker and not messing with bourbon, whiskeys, really pretty much liquor at all, to now he doesn't drink beer hardly at all anymore, and he's a huge bourbon like fanatic. So I want Sydney, if you're still out there, let us know your opinion, man. I love to hear it. So I love that the bottled and bond, man. That's killer. I love the like fight your way through it to figure it out. You know, I'm sure that's nerve-wracking. I would only imagine to go there, put that type of investment, because this isn't I would assume a low cost of entry type business.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? This ain't like starting I don't know, I can't even think of anything. A snowball stand, right? This ain't like starting a snowball stand.
I would
We're
think
gonna
it's
throw
like
it
Christmas
in a
every
stick.
4 years, and hopefully Christmas is good in 4 years.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Back when I was doing the shine, they started busting some of the local guys, which I hated to see. But I had this one girl, she was just outrated me. I guess one of her relatives had been arrested. She goes, "Well, why does the state why are you able to do this?" I says, "Well, first of all," I said, "I stroke a check for 10 grand to the state
Right,
before I do anything."
Got to pay to play.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's so just right off the bat, you're the state part of your deal, right?
Oh, they're in bed with you, baby.
Oh yeah,
Not on the risk side though.
no,
Not on the
side
risk.
at all.
Well,
They're only on the profit side.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're
state.
gonna take the gross, not the net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you fail, then
We still want
Sorry.
our gross.
Yeah,
Correct.
so then
Sorry.
you give them 10 grand up front, and then you got your fingers crossed, and then you get to 4 years, and then you got to ship it to Jackson, and they mark you up 30%, and so then they get another 30% out of you, and then it goes to liquor stores.
So you're talking 30%. So you're talking over. He stroked a check for 10 G's.
Yep.
And you got to figure he's probably $4 grand out of pocket already on that 10 grand.
what do you mean?
So he was talking about, the 30%. So I'm just using that number as a round figure. So
Yeah. Well, no, they stick 30% on top of what you
In
sold it to
addition.
Jackson
so,
for.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're, yeah, that's what I'm
Per
saying.
bottle.
So, yeah, so you're going up.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
But he don't get the 30%.
No, he ain't
Yeah.
getting it. No.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But that's horrible.
That's another brings up another good point. A question I wanted to ask too. It's like navigating all the craziness. You already mentioned a lot of the getting your licensing and all that stuff. But what all have you learned maybe that you didn't know about just how crazy alcohol sales? It's legal, but it ain't capitalistic in any way, shape, or form, right? You have to sell to ABC in Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Who then turns around as a government entity and sells it to the liquor stores that we
Yes.
buy from, right?
Right, exactly. And
You can't sell direct to me.
no, I cannot. So there is a store at the distillery, but it's my sister's store because I can't own a store.
Okay.
Right.
Is it connected? Same property, same building?
Yeah. It's, the front, I've got like it used to be a tasting room, and then on one side that's it's like Suite B or whatever,
Okay.
and so it's a liquor store, full line liquor store. They carry everything.
Right,
I
right,
have
right,
my
right.
product in there, obviously.
Right.
But back when I started, you couldn't sell your product on site. So
Yeah, because that just changed 2 or 3 years ago, correct?
yeah, and so now you can sell your product on site. It's
Right.
another fee, and then it's at that point it was like, well, what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
Yeah.
I might as well. Yeah.
I've already taxed out.
Yeah.
What's the point? As in, it doesn't make financial sense. You mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
because I still have to pay the state their 30%, so I don't get that cut.
Got you.
Got and I've already got somebody working the liquor store and it's family anyway. So I could make that markup that the liquor store is making, but I would just pay it right back out to have an employee sell it. So why bother? At that point.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Are you a member of any type of distillery organizations? Is there any in the state that tries to lobby these laws, which I'm sure is probably never going to happen, but
Well,
maybe you could try.
Well, I heard
You
it's
can't
changed.
you can't even buy wine, anything in the state of Mississippi through digitally. Like, in other words, I can't order wine from another
Right,
state
yeah,
and have it
no,
shipped to me.
no.
No. So you can only own one liquor store in Mississippi per household.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can't own so you won't see a chain. Like if you go to Texas, you'll see like Specs and
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the country you talk about ordering like Total Wine and different like chains like
Right.
that.
Correct.
So you won't see those in Mississippi. Costco's in Jackson has a liquor license, and I think there's some other
Wait
big
a
box
second.
store.
You
up there.
just changed the world by saying there's a Costco in Jackson, Mississippi. Because the last place I saw Costco was in Galveston, Texas.
There's one in Mobile too, but Winn-Dixie I think has one in Ocean Springs, a liquor store.
Yeah. You can just have
Yeah,
one
but-
per state.
and
there.
they're pretty small
That's
too. I think that
stupid.
one in Winn-Dixie's.
What do you know the rationale behind that? If there is one, what do they say?
Bible Belt?
Well, I think part of it's Bible Belt. I think part of it is so you don't have a monopoly. I think a lot of it's just to they don't want somebody to really control prices, although the state's pretty much controlling them anyway.
Right.
So in other words, they want to do it. They don't want
Yeah.
you to do it. I like it.
It's
Yeah.
okay for us to monopolize,
Correct.
not
correct,
you.
Correct.
Yeah.
But any lobbying groups that try to affect policy and change when
So-
it comes to this kind of stuff?
So not in the state of Mississippi. You know,
Okay.
there are some lobbying groups that lobby for different things like mail order
Okay.
stuff. You know, I'm not part of that. You know, really and truly, I mean, you kind of become tied to, you know, some of these local liquor stores. I mean, it's not like I promote one or the other, but I mean, if you take wine away from them, for some of them, that's most of their business.
We talked to Jonathan Maizano was on the show. We need to get him back on. It's been a minute,
Yeah.
but he talked to us about that same exact thing. If they
Yeah.
were to take that away or let, like, say for instance, Walmart sell wine, then it would
cut his business out, yeah.
gut him. It
Yeah.
would gut most of his profit. You know,
Yeah.
and not
Right.
be able to exist.
And so, yeah, I think you'd see a lot of these small, I mean, they're all mom and pop stores. I mean, you know, they're all small family owned businesses. And so, I mean, you know, I kind of have, you know, you like to see that type stuff.
I do.
You know?
I do.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, kind of support them, you know, and don't really, I don't buck that system. I mean, because you can get, I mean, yeah, it's nice to think like, hey, you know, like they have specs in Twin and Texas, you know, so you can get in one. Well, then the other one blackballs you.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
that really doesn't happen here in Mississippi for the most part. You know, they're
Okay.
not, well, you're in the liquor store across town, I'm not going to carry you. You know, no, they have the incentive to carry you because, you know, then if they don't, their customer's going to go across town.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So that's a double-edged sword, even in Texas, right? I mean, if you don't have what I want because you think you're being cool or hurting you as the distiller, I'm like, well, I'm not coming back to your
I'll
store anymore
cross the
because
street.
his product is the shit.
Right. But
Right.
then what they do is they throw your competition stuff out and say, oh, well, we don't have his, but we got his competitions.
Gotcha.
And so then they kind of, you know, undercut you or
See,
whatever.
but I'm down with starting a gang, and I'm being like, listen, I only drink that. I don't drink this other knockoff shit that you're selling. So
Yeah.
don't
Right.
even try.
Don't
it.
even bring it.
I've been
over-
insulted, sir, and I will not return. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
No.
now nationally, we have two different trade groups. We have the American Distilling Institute, and we have the American Craft Spirit, ACSA, American Craft Spirit Association, I believe. One of them's having a convention in New Orleans sometime this summer.
Great
Okay.
place
And,
to have a convention.
Yeah,
for
right.
whiskey-
Yeah.
For bourbon and whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice. A lot of them are in Kentucky. You know, I usually drive up there to those.
Right.
Not too bad. But they do a lot of lobbying. They got us, they reduced, you know, so for the feds, I told you what I paid the state.
Yep.
So for the feds, they charge you an excise tax. And so it's based on a proof gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a proof gallon of production, but it's proof gallon sold. So once it leaves my facility or my bonded area, then I have to pay the feds. And so they charge you by the proof gallon. So it used to be, I forget, it was like $12, $14 a proof gallon. And they got it reduced to $2.70 something cents for the first like 10,000 proof gallons or something.
Wow.
Well, that's huge for
That's-
that first 10,000.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
mean, you
that's
got to
huge.
figure they're probably killing the mom and pop distilleries like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How many distilleries are there in the state of Mississippi?
So right now there's 4 of us.
Okay. Okay.
And so there's Wonderbird up in Taylor, Mississippi. They make mainly gin. I think I might have seen their stuff maybe in one store down here. Gin's not real big market.
It's
Yeah.
it's not.
Gin's tough.
It's
That's
not.
a tough
It's.
market.
I've slowly started working my way through that though, just a little bit. It's not bourbon, but I'm trying. And the Hendrix is pretty good. Hendrix is not distilled here in the state, but
Yeah.
if you mix it in the right stuff.
And
it's
this is
not
going to
bad.
be a premium bourbon. Premium gin, kind of like Hendrix.
Okay.
Probably worth a try.
I was
if
gonna
you-
say, yeah, I'll definitely. I'm gonna go try that just because
Yeah.
you said that.
And so then in Jackson, there's Cathead.
Yes.
They make
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with
and
that.
now they make the
Correct. We
that
drank.
was-
We
we
drank
drank
them on
that,
the
yeah,
show.
yeah,
or
yeah,
actually, on the show, we drank them a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
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 And so they're the oldest. You know, and they mainly have concentrated on the vodka. They do make a gin.
Correct.
Oh,
I
don't-
didn't know the gin. The
yeah,
vodka, I did know.
They
I
make
know
a
the vodka, yeah.
the gins. I think Bristow.
Mm.
Don't see
Okay.
it a whole lot.
Mm-mm.
If you like a gin, it's pretty good though.
Had their bourbon though.
Yeah, and they've got a bourbon now.
Mhm.
I don't know what else they're doing. They've got some different like coffee flavored or chicory flavored liqueurs and different stuff.
Okay.
They're real big into the blues. That's kind of their deal. It's kind of like the Cathead. If you look
Right,
up,
right,
that's
right.
kind of their stick. There used to be Charbonneau and Natchez doing a rum. They're not there anymore. They kind of went out with COVID.
Damn. Okay.
And then
That sucks.
probably going to be a shock to y'all. There's actually a new distillery in Gulfport doing rum called
No.
Circle Hook.
So
I haven't heard of that.
No, I did. I saw something on, and they're doing just rums right now, though, right? Rum runs.
Yeah, he's doing an aged rum.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. The guy, you probably love his story. He's from the West Coast. I think somewhere in California originally. I kind of forget. I think he's lived kind of different places out there, but he actually is a commercial fisherman in Alaska.
Oh
Love 'em.
shit! Okay.
Love 'em
yeah,
already.
yeah.
That's
JJ's
my
in.
cup of tea.
You'll be
I'm
buying.
in. I'm
You'll be
sold.
buying that rum no matter
I'm on
what.
my way right now.
Yeah.
Tell him I'm coming.
Is he already putting out product, or is this he's just getting started?
Well, he's, I forget exactly how long he's kind of been in business. I think it's like 2 years now. He's got some product out in certain stores. I think not very
That's
many
Sydney.
stores.
Yeah,
though.
I'm getting lit up. We're getting lit up in the comments over here. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish that thought.
So I don't know exactly what store he's in, but he makes a great product. I've had it. I love it. Super nice guy. I don't think he's, I was kind of talking to him the other day. I was like, he's like, well, we don't have enough product yet to really go kind of mainstream. And so he's doing, pretty small batches, like 2-barrel blends, and he's putting it out. But I mean, great product. I mean, it's what's interesting about rum is rum's real diverse. You can make like rum agricole, you can do a spiced rum, you can do a white rum, you can do an aged rum. It's real broad. You can do different mixtures of sugar and molasses. There's no kind of set formula. It's definitely a lot more broad than bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it gives you a little bit more to play with.
Okay.
But if you like a bourbon, I think you'll and you want to get into the rums, I think that's definitely one to try. Because he ages, most of his is aged in new white oak barrels, just like a bourbon.
Okay.
And so you get a lot of that color, you get a lot of those flavor profiles.
So we got some hints of some bourbon in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a great rum. I would say it's more of a sipping rum.
Yeah,
Right.
A lot of the rum you get, it's more of a spiced rum.
Yes.
right, like a mixing
yes.
rum.
Yeah, it's just like too
Cracking and stuff like
syrupy.
that.
Yes, I don't like
Yeah,
that. I like the
yeah.
darker stuff of the stuff that I liked.
Yeah, and so it's really kind of hard to I guess there's some of the rum fanatics could probably tell us.
Yeah.
But to get that good barrel aged rum that's got those good flavors.
Let's hit the comments up. My wife actually in the comments asked, are all the states the same regarding the ABC regulation regulates the distribution of liquor and wine? It varies from state to state.
Right.
Yeah,
And also varies, I think, from liquor to wine to beer. It's all different, right?
yeah, it is. Usually wine and liquor are pretty close, like in Mississippi.
Okay.
But different states are different. Usually it's a lot more relaxed on wine.
Yeah.
So-
I even had a conversation with Sydney. We need to get him in here and do another one of these bourbon nights to get him in. But even about with the craft beers locally in the state, like your Southern Pecans and all the locally produced beers, they had to go through hell just being able to get on the shelves.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy fight.
And they kind of fought. I guess one of the more recent fights was to get like the high ABV stuff.
Yes.
that you see in other states. So like Timber Beast came out of it. I'm sure
Mhm.
some other ones. Got Craft Advisors got one. He makes some good stuff. They're making some good stuff, but I mean it's been a struggle for those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen Lucky Town and Jackson went out of business. What's great about whiskey is it doesn't go bad.
Right.
And so I tell
It can sit for a while.
yeah, I mean it only gets
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
With beer, you got to turn it over. I like to say, there's only 2 food groups that don't go bad. That's honey and whiskey.
That's
Yeah,
true.
right.
And they're both good. And
Yeah.
they're both good too. So Sydney was giving us some hell too. He said he posted about Circle Hook in our group chat. So apparently we should have already heard about Circle Hook. We missed that. Sorry, Sydney.
Slackers.
I don't
Whatever,
pay
Sydney.
attention very well. But going back to your bottled and bond, again, this is our buddy Sydney. He said it's an excellent juice. He said he agrees that it tastes much closer to a 10-year bourbon than a 4. Great bourbon sweetness. I thoroughly enjoy it. His single barrel proof is one of my favorites.
Yep.
Yeah, so
There
we've
it
got
is.
we've got
So we
all
haven't
of
even got
that.
into that
Okay.
yet.
Yeah,
we
we
hadn't
got
even-
it or the rye.
Jesus.
We hadn't even gotten to the rye yet,
Yeah.
dude.
Jesus. All right, let's
So
let's
that's
let's check that
the
out.
So I'll
next
pour me
pours.
one and I'll pass it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
explain to us here what we're having here too.
So
For the
this
people
is,
listening who can't taste it, sorry guys.
So the bottle's a little
Y'all
bit
suck.
different. So there's a global glass shortage now. Supply chain issues. So this
We also do politics if you want to talk about that. If you want to talk about why that's a problem.
yeah. So
I want to comment on your label again because it's
Sweet.
legit. It's very good. It's
Yeah.
simple and like right. It's perfect.
To
yeah.
me, it reminds me of
Classic.
the classic
Yeah.
1800s.
vintage, yep.
Yeah, like the 8. And the other thing I was digging was
The wax.
The wax.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to
'Cause
ask
the only
about
other
the wax.
there's only a few that do it, like Blanton's, Makers,
Yeah.
You.
yeah.
It seals that.
So the wax is more expensive.
Obviously.
And
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
makers trademarked the drip.
Right.
Wax
Right.
naturally is going to drip,
Drip. Yeah.
but they trademarked it. So we dip these in the wax, leave them vertical, and then dip them in ice water.
Right. You
To
have
quench it.
yeah.
And,
so you can trademark the drip.
Yes. So
Well,
the
Makers
makers,
did.
the makers.
Right.
drip.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like makers,
Yeah.
you can do that. That's
And they
Yeah.
do colors too, so they do like a red, blue, and
Green,
white.
yeah,
They do
well,
all kinds.
we
of
got to
stuff.
come up with something to fight the drip. What can we do? We're gonna think on
Well,
that.
there's been a lot of lawsuits over it. There was because wax naturally drips
Correct.
when you dip it.
Right.
You know,
That's like
What if we
I
did
just
a
take it back up.
reverse?
That's
drip
like
to where
trademark-
it's dripping off the cap.
That's what I was
Up.
exactly what I was thinking. Honest to
don't
God,
put it
I
on the
swear.
internet.
Oh shit! We'll edit that out. It's only live.
But
The
but so
drip hawk.
Dude, that's good.
it's kind of interesting, different trademarks, and it's funny reading some of those cases, because you tell the judges just love, because the case is litigated in Kentucky, the federal courts are like, oh well, everybody knows bourbon's better than everything else.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, yeah.
It is. I do like Scotch though. I will say that.
Yeah,
I don't buy it a lot. I don't drink it a lot, but I
Really?
like it. Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm not a Scotch guy, dude. I've tried it. My dad's tried to turn me on to it, and I was
Yeah.
like,
I like
no.
Scotch is real diverse. I have
Yeah.
to say that about it.
Yes.
I think bourbon, you kind of know in general kind of what you're getting into.
Yes.
With Scotch, it's
It's so broad.
Right, because it
It can be light or aggressive.
right. And well, now I was told this always: if you're going from a bourbon, if you're a big bourbon drinker and you're trying to switch to Scotch, make sure you stay single malt.
Yeah. Yep.
Because of
It's got a
the
cla-
flavor
mhm,
profiles. Yeah,
Some have more smoke than others. Flavor.
right.
Some are like
and that all
smoother.
goes in the peat and how they heat
Correct,
it and smoke
correct.
it and yeah.
Correct.
Where did the colors come from? I know the green for the rye, but where did gold come from? Just your favorite color, Saints?
well, no, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, gold medal,
Yes.
Hey, there you go. Liquid gold, baby.
What a great transition.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
another photo here. Hold on. I'm going to show it. It's going to. Oh no, I did the other photo. Shit. So it'll come up in a second over there. You had the medals hanging on some of your stuff. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so
So that's the photo over there. You have
There
one
we
on your
go.
Facebook page that has the medals hanging from some of the bottles there, but I don't have that one.
yeah, so we've won numerous medals. I was talking about those two trade organizations. I usually enter my product in their competitions. Kind of compete against other craft products mainly when we do that. And you kind of get a little bit of feedback from the judges. Of course, everybody's palate's different, so it's variable.
You know what I read about wine too? I read some articles about actually the singer from Tool. You might be familiar with them. He
has a vineyard.
He does, and it's in Arizona. And with wine, I would assume, bourbon has some of the same kind of things you mentioned already with the barrels, and that's a lot of where your flavor comes from. But the soil that you grow the grapes in, supposedly, if you have a great palate, can affect the taste of the wine.
Right.
And he was saying in an early article, as he would bring that wine out to go to competitions, that a lot of the sommeliers, their palate is trained to be a Napa Valley tasting wine. Like that's what they're used to.
They're used to
They're
that.
used to that. So when you bring something in different, it may not be that it's bad, but it's so different to them that they may not rank it as high as somebody who just trying it for the first time.
Right.
Like, I like this because they don't have that bias
yeah.
about them, right?
So if you ever get the chance to go watch the show Neat, I know you've probably seen the Neat on Netflix or Prime or whatever.
I might have.
It's all about bourbon.
Yeah.
And so they got a chick on there. And I think she works for Old Forester. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. But she always says, she goes, the first sip of bourbon, doesn't matter what bourbon it is, tastes like gasoline. But once you get past that first sip, now you're starting to get into the flavor profiles. And she's like their official, kind of like the Buffalo Trace, the dude from Buffalo Trace. I mean,
Right.
she's like legendary.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
but that was one thing she said. She goes, it always blows your palate out.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you sit and you taste again and you actually swallow.
Well, and
it
you're
down the
supposed to
back
wait
end.
too, I think, a little bit.
Right. You're not supposed to just,
Right.
I mean, a lot of people think about it, 18, 19-year-old kids.
Well, they don't count.
We're
They don't
drinking-
count. Yeah, we were
Crown.
drinking.
we're drinking bourbon and Crown and whatever else, and
well,
we're shooting it. And it,
Well,
you
you're
know.
mixing it with Coca-Cola.
Right.
Well,
I
yeah,
said
as you get
Coca-Cola on
older-
purpose too, not to say you're mixing it with Coke. I didn't want to be
I mean, it was always
Anybody
chasing it with
misunderstand.
what
Well, I mean, that's debatable, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no,
But,
did
but
you?
what I'm getting
Go ahead, I'm
at
sorry.
is that chick, I think she hit the nail on the head when she said it kind of just blows your palate out.
Mhm.
And then you come back and then after your second or third sip,
You
start
taste
to
it.
taste the flavor.
Did you
Yeah.
you have to deal with that though? When you said you got feedback from judges and certain things that you've entered into, being a a new distillery in a different place,
I mean, I think a little bit of that. I mean,
not from Kentucky.
because I
Dude,
think
that's
the 4-year-old kind
It
of
is good, by the way.
That's
kind of messes
phenomenal.
with him, But I think the main thing, that I've noticed with other craft, and not to knock craft bourbons, but they like to use pot stills. And to me, a pot still bourbon does not turn out that well.
Describe the difference from a pot still and how
yeah,
you do it,
and what you do.
because I
yeah.
don't know the difference there.
So, I mean, we talk about, we just mentioned Scotch. I think Scotch is renowned and Irish whiskey is renowned for being pot distilled.
Yes.
And so if anybody does beer, with beer, I'm probably going to butcher this word again, but they basically separate the grain from water. So they call it lautering. Okay.
Mhm.
And so you go ahead, before you ever ferment it, you separate it out, and then you ferment it, and then you distill it. And so there's no grain in the distilling process. That's very similar to what the old Shiners used to do around here. They used to call it drawing off their buck, know, and they would just run the liquid. They wouldn't run any grain. And so what's kind of interesting, when you go to all grain, to get the best conversion, you grind it real fine. I mean, you're trying to make almost like a flour. And so once you do that, you can't separate that grain from the water. I mean, it'll kind of settle to the bottom and you can kind of draw off your buck, but you'd leave a ton of alcohol in that grain.
Okay. Right.
And so you have to distill it grain on. And so if you put that in a pot still, what happens is you sit there and you cook and cook and cook, and you cook that corn and all that grain, and you overcook it. The kind of the fancy term, if you want to be scientific and look it up, is a Maillard reaction.
Okay.
And so basically it's kind of like toast. Do you like your toast lightly toasted, or you like it burnt?
Right.
And so kind of what happens in that pot still, you end up burning and scorching the grains.
Gotcha.
A little bit of that adds some flavor. Too much of that's over top.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so that tends to kind of happen with a pot distilled bourbon. To me, it almost gives it a metallic-y taste. And some people, there's one, big brand. I think Woodford kind of promotes that they pot distilled bourbon.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
and I think they do
exact
that double oak
process.
stuff too. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to like Woodford personally, and then they went to that double oak, and it's hard to find. They're just the original Woodford.
Yeah.
To me, had a better profile.
Yeah, the double oak's just too much.
Double oak to me is
Yeah.
I had it and paid way too much for it and was not impressed.
Yeah.
How has your palate developed having done this? Where did you start and where do you think you are now?
So you talk about bourbons. I think, when I was back in college, of course, you'll kind of hit on Maker's Mark. That
right.
was,
Yeah.
that was
But you were
bourbon.
drowning it probably in
Yeah.
Sprite at the Grove, right? You weren't like sipping it to taste what it was, or were you?
I mean, you don't.
I know I wasn't.
I don't think anybody starts drinking straight bourbon. I mean, you're going to mix it with something.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you kind of get there. And then I had, I think it was my brother-in-law. He's like, oh, man, he said, you drink bourbon and water. He goes, you won't wake up with a hangover.
That's not how that works.
Well, I mean, think about it, though. You're drinking some water, so you're kind of staying hydrated instead of just drinking straight bourbon.
Right.
Correct. And also, let me do a little medical side of things here. When you drink like sugary drinks, it costs water to get the sugar molecule out. So
Right.
the more sugar you drink, the more dehydrated.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, so you're not getting the sugar in there with the Coke or the Sprite
Correct.
or whatever.
Right.
And so,
So you're better off.
yeah, you're better off. So you kind of start there, and then you're like, oh, well, I just want some more alcohol, so I don't have to go
But
to
if you
bars
still
all
drink a fifth, all bets are off. So
All
it doesn't,
bets are
it doesn't
off.
really
Yeah.
matter. Yeah.
You
And-
can ask the wife. I'll tell her straight up. I'd rather have a whiskey hangover the next day because I can
Than a
function
beer
than a
or
beer hangover.
I'd rather have
Wine.
no hangover personally, but let's continue.
Wine is terrible.
Wine
I
is
just
the
haven't
worst.
figured it out
Yeah.
yet.
And
Yeah,
so,
well, I mean, yeah.
but kind of before the Grove, we mentioned our mutual friend over in the Kiln.
The Moran.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a handle of Elijah Craig. Not Elijah Craig, but Evan Williams.
Yeah.
That sounds more college-y to me. Yes,
Yeah.
that
And
sounds
so,
more appropriate.
That was kind of like my introduction to bourbon was Evan Williams.
Yeah.
And so then in college, Maker's Mark's probably kind of try that. Not bad, Of course, Jim Beam's all over the place.
Dude, that's what my family grew up drinking. Was
I
that
mean,
and Jack
Cheers,
Daniels, man?
yeah.
I'll always
Yeah.
be a huge fan. I
Yeah.
don't care if
I've
people
always
shit on
been
it.
Yeah.
Like your big hardcore like bourbon snobs. Like,
It's
it's
like-
and it-
yeah, but you
maybe
know
it
what?
does. But you know what?
Jack
You know what?
tastes
They
like
got
Screw
charcoal.
you guys.
They got
you know.
7 figures in their bank, and I'd screw them.
Yeah,
That's the way I look
I, don't
at
know.
it.
I grew up on it, so it's like that palate bias.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
like it always.
Well,
I've always loved Jim Beam.
if it's good enough for Sinatra, talking about Jack Daniels is good
Yeah.
enough for me.
Well, it's just like
Have
I
you
get like
had
just
that?
overwhelming charcoal out of Jack Daniels now.
Well,
It is. No, it really is. But
Because it's how they filter it.
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
exactly.
But I like that for
Yeah.
some reason.
Well,
I
but-
guess because I grew up drinking it. Like I
So
said.
a buddy of mine went up to the Jack Daniels distillery and got a bottle of Frank Sinatra's flavor profile that he drank.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, dude, Sinatra had a palate.
Did he?
And I'm not a Jack Daniels fan. I'm
Well,
a
that
Jim
was a
Beam
huge
guy.
marketing move on Jack Daniels' point to
Yeah.
get
Oh,
those singers.
1,000%, yes. Because they got them.
You know
Eric
that? Did you know that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think Eric Church has got one too, doesn't he?
Jack Daniels?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know. I
he
just
does.
know. I just know back in the day.
But I know that the Jack Daniels Frank Sinatra now that they put out, it's like 109 or 105 proof
Oh,
whiskey.
I didn't know he had a signature.
Oh yeah, it's their
Okay.
signature, and it comes in a whole. It's a big deal. It
Yeah.
comes in but
I don't see it
It's-
anymore.
I think you have to go there to get it.
Okay.
My
Damn.
buddy's got it though, and I'm gonna tell you, dude, I'm not a Jack Daniels fan. And he was like, just try this neat and tell me what you think.
It was good.
Probably one of the best I've ever had in my entire
Wow.
life. I would put it in the top 3 for sure.
Wow.
I bet it's a little bit older too.
It is. Yeah, I think it's 12 or 14 years old, but But still, at that point, though, I mean, you're drinking a Tennessee whiskey and not a bourbon, and the only thing is how they mellow it through the charcoal process. Correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, Tennessee whiskey goes to the charcoal. I guess technically, I don't know. I'm not, gonna. People will argue that Tennessee whiskey is bourbon.
Right.
It is technically
Yeah,
until they charcoal filter. I don't know. To
Yeah.
me, it's all the same. It's
Yep.
one.
We
the
had
same.
this argument before.
We have.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah,
But
lots of
back
nights.
to your flavor profile. Has it's developed?
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of weird. I mentioned. So I kind of went back. I really liked the Elijah Craig and Four Roses. Kind of is what I get.
Mhm.
I like the traditional rye bourbons.
Mhm.
Traditional bourbons were made with rye grain and not wheat.
Right.
Makers is a wheated bourbon.
Yes.
Okay. And for me, we've talked about this. What is it? Mixtures is your favorite?
Mixtures.
Okay.
Mixtures.
All
yeah.
the weededs that I've drank, most of them, I can't think of one that's not. They're a little sweeter than I typically like. For me personally.
And
Yeah.
so we kind of started, these bourbons I have sitting on the table are wheated bourbons because the market, everybody's like are hot on wheated bourbons right now.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's what these are.
All of them that we've had so far.
The single barrel, and the bottle and bond are wheated bourbons.
Okay. Well, then I like these two.
But
then.
then we got a rye sitting over there too.
But
So,
we're
yeah.
gonna crack that rye here in a
I
minute.
have a rye
Yeah.
whiskey, but I've got a lot of traditional rye bourbon aging.
I just corrected myself. I said weeded and meant rye. I'm sorry. That's why when you said that, I'm like, wait a second, this is rye. The
Rye is
bourbons.
hot.
I said it incorrect. The
Yeah.
rye bourbons that I've typically tried, I have not been a fan of. Not weeded. I said that incorrectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny
Get
to
it
me.
right.
Yeah.
Wheated bourbons,
It's live, baby.
and everybody to me, your palate and your flavor profile is different. I
Right.
mean, so we can argue about what something tastes like, but for everybody, it's different. And to me, a traditional rye bourbon is actually sweeter.
That's
And
what
I
I'm
like-
saying.
and
Yes.
I like them better.
Right. And somebody,
I'm not a fan
I'm
of the
with
sweetness
you.
so much.
I don't like the super sweet
Right.
bourbons.
I
I'm
like it
more
like
on
the
weeded
Angel's
profile.
Envy rye. I like an Angel's Envy rye. I like
Angel's
a couple
Envy's,
other ryes.
Yeah, it's good. To me, I'm with him. I like a Mitchers, but my favorite all time go to if they got the bottle, which nobody has it right now, is the OF 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Forester 100, because I think that's a smooth. It's a 100 proof bourbon, but it comes off really, really smooth. It's not a 10-year-old bourbon, and I think your profile kind of matches that on the BIB.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had the OF 100. Just you don't
So they
see it.
changed it over to they used to carry it, and I'm not going to throw stores out there,
Yeah,
but
don't
they
do
used to
that.
carry it at this other store, and I get it for like $27 a bottle. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a good get off the boat, want to drown your
Sorrows away. Yeah.
yeah.
It was a great bourbon for that. And so, but I think they changed it over to their signature series now. I'm not 100% sure, but the BIB that you put out reminds me a lot of that. And that's what I
Okay.
told Megan back. I was like, man, this stuff is legit.
Well, let's dive into that rye. Tell us a different process. Let's taste that
Yeah.
thing.
So rye, and I've got some extra glass over here. This is straight. So straight means it's 2-year-old. And you put in these plastic glasses, and,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we got to
Yeah.
clean.
I didn't clean mine in between either, but let's do that. Yeah.
and so rye has got to be 51% rye grain. Usually people describe rye as being a little more peppery, hot.
Hotter, spicier whiskey.
Yeah. So this, you saw a lot of ryes out that were, 90 and 100% rye. But all you have to have is 51% rye. But you saw all these that were, high rye, kind of punch you in the mouth with the pepper. And what's the best way?
Thank you, sir.
And so I chose to kind of cut that down and do a 60% rye grain.
Okay.
So we still use a similar process that we do with our bourbon. We have corn in it. It's predominant. We use, about
smell.
30% corn in this and around 12% barley, and they're, about 60% of the rye grain here. Rye
Good.
is a pain in the rear.
Good.
Rye likes
Haven't
to
had it yet.
foam.
It smells great.
Rye likes to come out of the fermenters. Rye is just a pain to deal with.
Okay.
But rye is your first really true American whiskey. Up in Pennsylvania, rye really started up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Wow.
I think it's smoother than both them other ones.
It is by far.
And
yeah.
so this is 90 proof, so it's not as hot.
Right.
But rye is like, when you make an old fashioned or you make a Sazerac or you make a Manhattan, rye is the whiskey to use in that.
Okay.
Traditionally.
That is good. This is really good.
And so
very good. I'm super impressed.
Yeah.
this one tends to be, I guess I had a friend that kind of she said instead of being peppery and kind of punch you in the mouth, it's more fruity and florally.
It is.
It
It isn't
is.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's 2 years old. I got some that's older. I'm trying to decide if I want to do a bottle and bond with it or what we're going to do. But we've got those options. I got a store up in Tupelo, Mississippi that's getting a 5-year-old rye in probably August, September.
Okay.
They came down and picked it. And I was kind of surprised. Most stores don't want a rye barrel, but he tastes like, oh, man, this is fantastic.
Yeah, that Sydney says yes, bottled and bond rye. He's saying do that for sure.
Yeah, y'all recently did a
flash
store
on.
pick for Canal, right?
Yeah, they came out. We did a store pick. I think he pretty much sold it out the first day he released it.
Damn.
Wow. That's
So
kick-ass.
That's one of the two questions that I'm trying to hold in the back of my mind here was how many store picks have you had from different liquor stores, and then also how many liquor stores are you in over how many states?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So right now we're just in Mississippi. I'm
Okay.
working on getting into Louisiana.
Okay.
It's been a little painful. The internet and the kill is terrible, but we just got Coast Connect. And,
That's so terrible.
Yeah.
That's
so,
terrible.
now we got fiber optic.
Yeah,
And,
dial up. Yeah.
So we're kind of, now we're cooking with grease and fire.
Right. That AOL dial up.
Y'all ain't gonna know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
This
coming
is
back
2022.
I had-
talking about
when I lived in DC. I had
That's
fiber right into
sad.
my apartment. I was like, oh, man, this is great.
Yeah.
And so we moved back, and the wife's like, "Oh, this is terrible, man. It's like
It
dial-up
is.
speed."
Yeah.
And I remember sitting around. I used to do Rotary and some other stuff, and like, what do you think's the number one thing holding back businesses? The internet's terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had these
for
little
sure.
gray hairs laugh at me, and I had one person, "Oh, well, I can watch my Netflix just fine."
Yeah, they don't get it.
Yeah, I was like, "So what's your
they don't
upload
understand.
speed?" And
What's the difference? Yeah, they
How
don't
do I
know.
test it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
clue.
Exactly.
And so, but finally, I mean, we got the fiber optic, Coast Electric did it. We got Coast Connect. And man, I tell you, it's super nice. I mean, there's no buffering. I
Right.
mean, if you got the option, sign up for it. It's not 5G. It's not going to give you brain cancer.
We got it in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fiber, they just put it in.
Yeah. Well, as we're through AT&T.
Elon Musk says that you can take a helmet made out of 5G cell phones and a jock strap and wear it, and you'll never get cancer even if you wear it for like 20 years. So I'm going to go with his
I'll
advice
trust
and say
Elon
it's fine.
Musk.
Yeah. I mean,
5G.
I people get scared about different stuff. I mean, I don't think that's something to be scared about.
Right.
Well,
Well,
explain-
explain with Elon
so-
Musk,
but no,
yes,
but
he's not going into space. He's launching other dudes into
Yes,
space.
he's smart.
Yeah.
That's why.
I
That's
want to
why.
know once it leaves your factory and goes to ABC, who sets out where it goes from there? Do you go to every liquor store in the state? Do you go to certain liquor stores in the state? How does that work?
So in Mississippi, there's about 500 to 600 stores. It kind of fluctuates here and there. Stores open, stores close.
Right.
So I work with, I told you the state's the distributor. Well, in other states, they have actual distributors that are sales rep and distribute. And so in Mississippi, I'm with a distributor that basically just acts as sales reps.
Right.
And so they'll go, basically, definitely the top 100 stores, but generally about the top 200, just depends.
And that's the top 100 in sales.
Yeah,
the big
yeah.
stores. Yeah.
So they're hitting the bigger stores. And it's not anything against the small stores. Some of them just sell pints. Some of them
Yep.
are what you call bulletproof stores. We don't see a whole lot of those down here. We've got a lot of good stores on the coast. I mean, I have to say that. I mean, I've traveled the state. We've got a ton of great stores here.
right.
And so they're hitting those bigger stores and trying to get you in those stores because those stores have the clientele to buy
Correct.
that
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, they're
Correct.
turning the people.
And so then, it'll kind of branch out from there, and they'll go to some of the other ones. But basically, the sales reps, it's like any salesman, they make commission. And so they're going to go to the stores that are doing special orders
Right.
with them. And so, even if it's a bigger store, if they're not doing special orders with the sales reps, they might not be going in there, and you might not see it in there. I try to go to stores with COVID. Some stores didn't want you. Some stores were just struggling to get their orders from the state. I didn't do a whole lot of traveling during COVID when this came out. And I hadn't really traveled around the last couple of years with COVID. You could ride with the sales rep. So you'd meet them somewhere and you'd get in the car with them and you'd go
Right.
ride around and they'd take you, to the top 10, 15 accounts. You go shake hands, kiss babies, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's kind of,
Politicking.
it's kind of hard to say like, what stores exactly you're in across the state, so I tell you generally in the bigger stores. But on the coast, I tend to be in most of them, even if they're not a big store, because we are local and I appreciate the support they give me. And so I don't really have any control over, necessarily what stores to go into. So
That's
big stores, kind of had it first because they'll special order it. And then after that, I'm in bailment now. So the store basically gets on the state's website and they just order directly from the state, and the state drop ships it to them.
Okay.
So
they'll order a case. If it sells out, they'll order another case. Or
Right.
And it's like any store, if they order a case and it sits there, they don't want to reorder it.
Right.
And so go to your local liquor store and buy it.
Buy it. Now, can you request that from your liquor store, and they can be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
I can put it in."
if it's a liquor store you're going to all the time, and you go in there and say, "Hey, I want you to get in this bourbon," they'll probably get it for you if you're a regular customer.
Right.
If you're Joe Schmo off the street that they see once every 6 months,
Probably won't happen.
no, because
Right.
even like my sister's store, they got people come in, you never see them. Hey, could you get such and such? And you get it, and it's a 12-bottle case,
And you sit there. Yeah.
and you sell one bottle, or they never come back, and you sit on it. And stores don't want to do that.
Right.
Mine are only 6-bottle cases, which stores tend to like.
Yeah, because even if you buy it, you don't push it. You just only bought 6 bottles instead of 12.
Right.
Right.
And I think most of the stores had pretty good sales with it. I hadn't had any of them call me and tell me, "Hey man, your stuff's not selling."
So, I know the shop that I went into today, because I got my wife a bottle. She despises bourbon, but she loves wine. But anyway, I went in there and I was like, they were counting bottles, and I was like, man, these got 6-7 bottles of that BIB. I might ought to get one. Nah, I'll get. And then I got the text, "Hey, come over." And then now y'all are telling me they're out, and I was like,
If we went to the same
Wow.
store,
yeah,
I went in there today to get it, and they didn't have it.
by the house.
They did not have it
By the
my
house.
So
yeah.
they didn't have it. So it sold out.
So between 1:30 in the afternoon and the time I walk in this door,
Yeah.
Wow. Well, see,
Yeah.
and I was talking to a couple. I was up
I
in
think they had
Meridian
9 or 10 bottles in there.
doing a charity event.
That's what he said. He said he thought he had some.
There was only one store in Meridian that this couple. She's like, my husband loves your product. When I go to like South Haven or Memphis, once a month, I'll buy a case when I'm up there. But only this one store in Meridian finally carries it. Meridian's not a small town,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's just like, well, so I'm doing a show up there, and people are like, "Where did I get your stuff?" So I'm sending them to this one store, and I'm sure they're sold out before
Yeah.
the end of the night.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just kind of difficult sometimes. I think these stores get kind of bogged down, and well, I sell plenty of all these name brand stuff, and so let me just keep peddling what I've been peddling. And
I think from a business standpoint, I understand that.
Yeah.
to a
Oh, for
point.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what
for
I
sure.
mean?
Is it so? Am I hearing this right though? It's your job not only to be the distillery and the company and everything that goes along with that, though, but you also, either yourself or if you had somebody as a part of your team, you have to be the one that is getting these people to order your stuff from the state, whether that be through, could it be television commercials, or is it hand-to-hand combat by riding with a sales rep to go to their,
well,
how does that, explain that a little bit better for
you kind of start out, with getting the sales reps to sell you in. So basically, you've hired this company, and these sales reps, they represent a lot of other brands, and usually kind of some of them use kind of strong arm tactics, like, "Hey, you want your allotment of this stuff that's allocated?
You better buy some of this too."
Yeah,
I got
kinda.
you. I got you.
And,
It's a dirty business, baby.
Yeah, but that's some of it. Some of it,
Pay to play. Let's go.
"Hey, we got this great new bourbon. Try it."
Yeah.
And a lot of the store owners will try it. If they like it, they'll buy it. Some of them, if they try it, they don't like it, they're not going to get it. Some of them, they have what they call SPAs, special pricing allocations. They're not going to buy you unless you're on an SPA.
Really?
Meaning they get a discount if they order from you or something?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So like you pick a month and you say, okay, this month I'm giving, a 10% per case discount.
Got you.
And so they'll only buy when you go on SPA, which I don't
kind
really
of
generally
crappy.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I get it for like 1 month, but yeah, not over time. I'm not doing it.
Do you go to these shows and like give samples and set up tables and stuff like that, I guess?
yeah. So like they had a taste of Gulfport the other night at Centennial
Right.
Plaza. We did that. We've done Ocean Springs before. I do a lot of stuff on the coast. My rep down here is really good with me. Great guy. Great sales for me down here on the coast.
Yeah.
Some of the other reps in the other parts of the state, not quite as good for me. But I had a museum, the Mississippi Performing Arts Museum in
Right.
Meridian.
Mhm.
They called me up and said, "Hey, we're having this, event. Kind of like a taste of, they get different restaurants and stuff." And so we went and set up. It was a great event. Kind of fun. Go someplace different.
Mhm.
And I've done some in Hattiesburg. Some of the went to Canebrake Country
Yep.
Club.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And went out there. We've done several events there. Different charity events. I think one of them was for breast cancer.
Sweet. Yeah.
And I think usually they're kind of
That's
put on by some of the bigger stores in the Hattiesburg area. But that's, a show like that, is good. Of course, I'm from the Kiln, you know, so I'm maybe, you know, slightly out of my element because I'm not going to wear a 3-piece suit. But no, you know, I'm fine with it. You know,
You got to rub elbows.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's good because those, you know, you got a lot of good clientele there. You know, of course, some of them's not going to drink bourbon. That's fine. But you hit a lot of good clientele. You know, a lot of the other shows, you know, you're just getting your name out there. You know, you get people to try it.
Absolutely.
And it's great exposure, you know, and a lot of it's charity events, you know, so people are paying, you know, money to get in. We're going out there for free just to get our name out.
Right. Advertising.
We're totally fine with, you know, sometimes, you know, towards the end, you know, you get the I don't know, one too many sample people, and you know,
you've already had 13.
Yeah. So eventually,
what do? You just give away free samples at these events, like that, so they can try it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's what we do. Usually, like I'll bring my bourbon, my rye out, and then I'll make like one mixed drink. You know, a lot of ladies don't like to drink straight whiskey. Some of the guys will drink the mixed drink too. That's fine.
Been doing kids.
Yeah, we've been doing mint juleps, so you still get a good flavor of the whiskey.
Kentucky Derby was
right,
last week.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that was that's a big Woodford thing, huh? The mint julep.
Well, it's just a big Kentucky Derby deal.
Right.
I
don't know much.
Woodford's been like the official bourbon of the Derby. Or something.
Blah blah. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so we did the mint juleps, and I think you still get a lot of good bourbon flavors with it. I mean, simple syrup and mint.
Yeah.
And so my wife found this recipe. You basically make your simple syrup, which is, you know, for those that don't know, it's surprising people that don't know, but it's 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water.
Yep.
Bring it to a boil, dissolve it,
Yep.
you know, super saturated like we do our sweet tea.
Right.
Yep.
Get you a pack of mint from the grocery
Kool-Aid.
store, throw
Yep.
in your mint,
That's
bam, let it sit there for an hour or so. And then I like to mix it 1-to-1 with my bourbon, and then put you like just a little, you know, your ice, put that, and a little splash of like club soda, seltzer water,
Just
Sprite
to
will
cut
work.
the sugar, really, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, to cut the sugar a little bit and give you a little bit of fizz.
Yep.
You know,
We got Jeff Dito in the comments here. He says that he just
he's from the Kiln.
Yeah, right. He said he just bought a bottle of a cut above bourbon from Northside Spirits in Macomb, Mississippi. Big shout out to Macomb, man. I've been down there in Macomb. That's a nice town. And he said the rye was nice, and trying straight bourbon this round. He said good stuff.
Yeah. I think that store my buddy's got a little camp in Liberty. It's an old family property, you know. I think I stopped by that store and signed a couple bottles back during hunting season.
Okay.
You want to sign that bottle right there?
Is that?
Yeah, I can sign that.
Is that where y'all
Hell
hunt?
yeah, dude.
Sign that, and I'll put that up. Ain't nobody gonna get it.
Yeah, I mean,
You hunt up in Macomb?
Well, yeah, kind of over north of Liberty and like Smithville. My buddy's got some family land. It's like 90 acres or so, and a old house, and and it backs up to the home of Chitta National Forest. I mean,
wow,
not
cool.
Just great deer hunting, but it's fun to go get away, and usually see deer. We didn't see many deer this year. They had a bumper acorn crop up there with all the rain we had last summer.
Right.
And so they weren't coming to our plots, weren't coming to our feeders. I mean, we had pictures of them at night
in the woods.
But I think it was hot too. I think that had a lot to do. We had like 5 cold snaps.
Yeah, like you
legit,
said,
like real cold snaps.
Well, being from the Delta, you should be a true blood duck hunter, right?
Well, I've hunted ducks a couple times, but I've never gotten into duck hunting.
Really?
And it's just one of those deals. I don't know.
Yeah.
I when I was in college at Ole Miss, I went duck hunting a couple times. Man, duck hunting's gotten expensive to actually.
Oh, it's the most expensive sport in the world.
Yeah.
Over golf?
Way more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's got my driver at his house.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in 7 years, 8 years.
I believe it.
You know how many times I've used it in
Appreciate
7
you,
I
years?
believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
So
how many times I've swung my golf clubs in that many years? Twice.
You mentioned that it's only for sale in the state of Mississippi. Is it on your radar, your plan to get it into other states? Is that like obviously bigger markets, right? So more sales, more business.
So Mississippi's 2.9 million people total population.
Yeah.
Last census, I mean, pretty small state.
Correct.
Right.
Income level here, I mean, the coast is great. But I mean, I don't know if you travel around the state,
Once you get up there, it's
just about north of Jackson.
Yeah, you leave the coast, you're pretty much north of Hattiesburg. You're in the country.
True.
Yeah, and so we're going to Louisiana, trying to get in over there. The distributor, my sales reps here, they're in Louisiana.
Is that more licensure? What is that?
A little bit of licensing, a little bit their system's different over there. So some of it's getting set up on their system. I guess everything's kind of turned in. I'll use Walmart self-checkout as an example. Now we want you to put all your stuff into our system type deal,
Right.
Okay.
It's not, we're gonna populate our system. No, you're gonna populate our system for
you
us.
do the work and pay us.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And still charge you the fee. I love it.
You see in the medical field, I mean, now, it's electronic medical records, but you're the doctor, code your own charts now. You don't have a coder anymore.
Yep.
It's different stuff like that. It's just putting more work on different people instead of having a data entry clerk or whatever you might have had in the past.
Right.
Correct.
So we're working on that. My distributor's also in Alabama, and so they're waiting for me to get. So I just kind of mentioned the glass shortage. So they're waiting for me to get back these traditional bottles that I've been in, and I should have a container load of those in July, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so when that happens, we'll probably be in Alabama in the fall.
Is one of these
Oh, that's
plastic?
awesome.
Is that what you're talking about? Or you said?
Well, this bottle here is that we showed earlier.
Yep.
With the taller top. It's my bottle I normally use, but there's a glass shortage. So used to, you could call them up and say, hey, or email them. I want, so many pallets of glass, and you could have it, maximum 12 weeks. I mean, usually you had it, they shipped out, if you want a couple pallets, they ship it on out to you.
There's
So-
a legit glass shortage.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
yeah.
Oh my God.
And so I emailed my lady I deal with and was like, hey, I want 6 pallets of glass. So, that's great. But, if you want that,
I'm glad you do. But
One hand
yeah.
and getting the other.
yeah, she goes, you're going to have to order a whole container. That's 20 pallets, about 20,000 pieces of glass. I said,
Oh, shit.
I said,
a little rich for my blood.
I said,
Yeah.
well,
What else you got?
Yeah.
it's so,
I want that.
no,
ride.
it wasn't.
Yeah,
It was like,
ride.
if you want
Shit.
anything, you're going to order a container load.
Mm.
And so I said, well, put me down for a container. So then, a month later, she's like, well, you're only going to get half of a container. So I couldn't have it at first.
Perfect.
And now you cut me down half. Whatever. Get it here.
Yeah.
So then the latest would know I'm going to get my full container in July, supposedly. I say it'd probably be more like August. But I ordered that in November. So we're 8-9 months out versus,
Yeah.
8 to 9 weeks like it used to be.
You're sitting.
Right.
And so these shorter bottles I've been doing these store picks in, I've been using it. And they had that bottle in stock, and I was able to get like
Yeah.
5 3/4 pallets or something.
Y'all aren't getting any of this bottle. This bottle's done.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Signed, put away at the house.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
leaving it just
Yeah.
like it is for the show.
It's
think
funny
it's great.
you were talking about the bottle because I've seen like shows or whatever talk about like the artistry, I guess you'd say, of each different, like whether it's a wine bottle or a whiskey bottle or whatever. There's a lot that goes into the design. And did you
Yeah.
pick that the shape of your bottle? Was that something you put a lot of thought into about how? I know you did on the label, right? But was it the bottle design as well?
Yeah, so bottles are interesting, and some of what comes into picking a bottle is how you label it.
Yes.
And
Explain that to me.
And so these bottles are all round,
Yes.
Mhm.
and so a round bottle is tremendously easier to label.
Okay.
Um,
Then say like a square bottle.
Yeah, a square
Okay.
bottle is probably the most difficult.
Okay.
Like a Jack Daniel.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And so with a round, you put it in. It almost looks like an old school typewriter
Yeah.
type deal, and it spins it and it applies a label. So
Yep.
it's super easy to get like a cheap machine or fairly inexpensive machine that does it. No problem. But you want it round, no taper, straight walled.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
so that's kind of how you get started with this, because originally I kind of wanted a square bottle, and then we wanted something that was easy to hold.
Yep.
Um,
But even the neck, right? Even the shape of the neck, the length of the neck, the curvature of that, right? That's all like part of it.
yeah,
That's
so
your presentation.
yeah, exactly. So this bottle reminded me a lot of like old Scotch bottle kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does have an old timey kind of vibe.
It's
to
got
it.
that
The
little
whole
bulbous,
thing, yeah,
you
for
know,
real.
to it. It fits good in your hand, and you kind of grasp it good. It's not too tall. There's a kind of a trend. I don't know if y'all have noticed of these like tall, skinny bottles.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
like a
ER or something.
Colonel. What you call
or
it?
Evan,
Yeah.
Colonel Taylor.
Yeah. His is a big, long, tall bottle.
Yeah,
Right?
so it's kind of a trend for that. Some of that is appealing to females more. The largest growing trend in bourbon's females,
Really?
and so
Yeah.
females like something that's tall and skinny.
What?
I hope my
Well,
wife's not watching.
we're
this.
out.
Wait a second. We're
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
We're more to
mentioned
love.
short
So
and
this,
skinny.
this looks more like me, kind of a little short and fat. but-
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we came up. We picked this bottle. This bottle happens to be named the Hope Bottle.
Okay. Did you just go through a ton of bottles, like looking at them from a distributor? Is that how that works online, or holding them in your hand?
Yeah, so they online, they'll send you magazines. And
Gotcha.
then you kind of narrow it down, and then, hey, I want samples of these bottles, and then you kind of look at them, hold them, and it's a big back and forth, a lot of arguments between my father and I. Probably more arguments over picking bottles than anything with my dad.
But
Well, I mean,
it's to me that's important.
Well,
I
some of it,
respect.
I mean,
respect that because
like-
it is important.
Well,
How,
see, if you look at Blanton's, that's pretty much what sells Blanton's. The bottle and the
It's part-
top.
it's part of it.
Yeah,
It's part of it.
Yeah,
You know what
but
I'm saying?
Blanton's is Bland's is a whole nother freaking.
But I mean, when you walk in
Crazy
there, it's
town.
kind of like you're going shopping with your kids. And I did this the other day. We're walking by the aisle and the frozen food section, and it's remember the old school party trays that we used to get, the little microwavable foods,
Right.
and it's got a cartoon character on it. And you're like, oh my god, I bet those chicken nuggets taste way better than the rest of the chicken nuggets.
Marketing,
So,
yeah.
I mean, you see with your eyes first. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, oh, that's a cool bottle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
1000%.
And so I mean, we picked something I think that looked. We kind of wanted a classic look, label, bottle, and I think we kind of achieved it with this.
I mean, y'all knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
Yeah.
1000%.
I love the name Cut Above too. Who did that?
Yeah.
So that kind of comes. We had a family. I guess it's more of a ranch. We used to have cattle and horses and stuff. And
Right.
so you think of, you start with cows, and you think about a meat being you good cut of meat, cut
Yep.
above.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when you make whiskey, you make cuts, and so
Yep.
it just kind of naturally fit. And it's kind of if you already got it, why reinvent the wheel? And,
Right. Yeah. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. So we already had the name, was already using it, and so we just kind of used it, kept on with it.
I like it.
And so I see him analyzing the cork over there.
Yeah, I was about to ask. That was my
It's
next question.
Everything to me matters like that, and it's show it to the camera
This is
close
not
to
a
you, Joe.
traditional not a traditional
Yeah,
cork.
That's a.
So I've got a few knocks on this one from different people.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an all synthetic one piece.
Right.
Okay, but I'm gonna tell you why this is the one we have. This one will not disintegrate. It will not come apart.
Correct.
You will never lose a cork in your bottle,
Correct.
and it'll last forever.
Yep.
And so it'll always be good. If you get, I don't know,
And pure cork's hard to come by too, right? Isn't it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive. I mean, not that it makes that much, but it's like if we're gonna cover it in wax number one, you're not gonna see it.
Mhm.
Right.
And then this one lasts forever. I mean, it's so aggravating when you go to open a bottle,
Oh
the
yeah,
cork breaks off.
I had that happen a ton of
all the
times.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had a bartender friend. He's like, please don't use a natural cork, man.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And so that's how we ended up with this cork. A T top, a bar top, or whatever you want a technical term to call it. But it works really well. It holds the wax well. It's got like a corrugation to it, so it's easy to grip. It's taller than a lot of them, so I mean you've got that positive grip to it, and it's easy to get out. It's a carryover from our shine, and so it was also kind of like, well, we can just keep using the same one and only inventory one cork. And so
Which is cost effective in the end.
Correct.
right, and it's just streamlined stuff.
Right.
like it.
Logistically.
And so then we got to this bottle, and this was, like I said, a fill in. It
So
was
that's the single barrel.
single barrel is what we've been using it for.
So it's got a regular cork.
So this under the wax is wood, but the cork itself is actually synthetic.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it'll still hold up and last. It's got a natural cork look to it. You can kind
Mhm.
of see it's got dents and striations and stuff in it. It's a little bit bigger. So we had to change for this bottle. The diameter of the cork's actually larger than the old one. I will say, I didn't want this bottle. We got it. If you pour it, it pours really, really nice because of the way the mouth of the bottle is kind of got a larger flange and
Yeah.
it's kind of dished a little bit. Kind of looks like a saucer kind of, and it pours really nice.
Right.
And so actually in the beginning I didn't like it, but
I
it's
do.
grown on me a lot.
I like
Yeah,
it. I like it.
I like
I
the
think
water
with
mouth.
that bottle, and you eliminate a lot of and I know this sounds crazy, but in the bourbon world is the neck pour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So there's a lot of guys that like they open a bottle and they pour that first 2 or 3 glasses and they're like, it's not good. And then they get down into it and it aerates a little bit. And they're like, oh well, maybe that was the neck pour. And I was like, when I first started drinking whiskey, I was like, what the hell is a neck pour?
Well, that kind of happens with all bottles though. I mean, the more air you
Right,
get into
right,
it,
the more
much
air you
less.
get into
Correct.
it. But
Well, that's
I
why
think
you're
with
supposed,
that
to, you're supposed
bottle,
to crack
I
them and let them sit.
Correct.
right, you like a bottle of wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Bottle
you
of
mentioned
wine,
too
yeah,
about the higher proofs. I had a 1792 that was like a 125, like foolproof.
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, ooh, this is almost like rubbing
Rye's
alcohol.
my favorite.
I drank a little bit of it and I put it in my cabinet. And I kind of
1792?
forgot
No,
about
that
it.
rye.
Yeah.
Oh, that rye is fire.
I kind of forgot about it. And then I went back to it like months later and left it open for a little while too before I drank it. And
Yeah,
it was a
changed
completely
it,
different
yeah.
taste. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
completely
yeah.
different taste.
I've had a couple whiskeys like that. I definitely agree.
And I
with
was
you.
like, damn, this is
Yeah.
better,
Yeah,
So,
they say once you get down to like the last third or quarter, you kind of want to go ahead and drink it there because after that it kind of gets
Gotcha.
too much oxygen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So pretty much the middle of the bottle is where you want to be.
Yeah, so if you're ever at a bar and you see like one shot left,
Don't
Pass.
get
Don't drink
Pass.
it. Yeah, this one's getting put up.
Yeah. What is I don't know if people can see
Yeah,
my
you got
hat
some
here.
merch.
You got merch too, man, which I always
Yeah,
love. To
we
me,
gotta
that's a
sell
sign.
the merch.
That's a sign of a good business. If if people are asking for and you can sell your merch, and just like your bottle, your label, your logo. When you brought the hat out, I was like, no, I'm putting this shit on, and I'm gonna be wearing this thing.
I like
man.
it.
I like the
Wow.
damn
So
hat.
Those
like, a
are
lot.
only available at the distillery.
Really? So I need to stop on my way back to Fushun.
Yeah. I might hit your ride, go fish, but
I sell you this for $50.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Everything's for sale for
Right.
$50.
But yeah, I have a website, but the website's kind of outdated. I need to updo it. Maybe get your guy that you were advertising earlier.
Well, you
Yes.
got a lot of recipes on that website, though.
Yeah, on the Killshine
Yes,
website, we have a
yeah.
ton, and I have the Crittenden
Right.
Distillery website too. That's I don't even think the bourbon's on it. But it's
Wow.
got some merch, and you used to be able to book a tour, but something with the payment system's all messed up, so you can't do any of that.
We know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy. Hilltree Marketing. Hook it up.
Yeah, so probably if you really want a hat and you want me to ship it to you, you probably have to message me on Facebook or something. And
We got to fix that because honest to God, it's a. You said we were talking before we went live. Like I don't know if it's too big to patch. I think it's perfect, man. I like it. Like
That's cool.
No,
looking
I
hat.
think
screw
that-
you. Here's my label. You're gonna look at it.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, kick rocks. Like it's
I
good.
mean, I think it's badass.
it is badass.
I mean, like when I walked in, I was like, that's
Yeah.
pretty pimp.
Well,
Yeah.
like I've got a big head, and not just like inflated from but
for
but
me,
literally-
but like
literally-
actual circumference.
yeah. So like I love the trucker style hats because
Yes.
they fit my head.
Right.
And so, I tend to kind of gravitate that way. I have some like camo hats that are not trucker hats, but they're not quite deep enough for my head. They fit 95.
The regular normal size head. would be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. But I got
You got a big brain.
I love it. I love it.
So like
I
a
love it.
Jared head,
Right. Exactly.
a regular head.
Exactly. So what's the plan moving forward, man? I feel like we covered a lot of bases here. Is there anything we didn't touch on? And what's your 5-year plan? I know a guy like you's got one for sure. I can tell.
Yeah. So I think, I know we've got some sherry cask waiting on bottles. We'll probably put that out sometime this summer or fall.
That'd be awesome.
We got about 4 of those. I've got some more of those barrels coming to start with that, and then I've also got some port barrels. Put two barrels of port up the other day. I've got 8 more coming. And when I say put up, I took my 4-year-old bourbon and I'm aging it for about at least 6 more months in these barrels to give you that kind of wine finish.
Right.
It'll be a little bit sweeter. I know you're kind of complaining you don't like sweet bourbons.
I'm
I'm
not
just
against
saying,
it.
like the
I'm
rye
not
to me
against it.
sometimes.
Yeah.
is
So
all.
rye,
And yours
sweet,
wasn't.
some
Yours
of
was
the- yours
smooth. I'll give you that
on
for
point.
sure.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, something, I'm still kind of debating over what proof I want to put it at. 90, maybe a little bit more drinkable. I don't know what we're seeing. And like, this is a store pick that I'm doing at my store. I'm going to do some more of those. We barrel at 120. So the federal maximum is 125.
Right.
So they're coming out about 116 and a half ish. A lot of stores, I think Jonathan likes a lot of his stuff at 110.
Yep. Has he done a store barrel pick from you?
No, I got to get him over there.
Yeah, we got to get him over there.
I got to aggravate him and just call him every day until he comes over there.
Correct. We'll help you with that. We'll flood his
Yeah.
inbox.
It's funny,
Come
even,
on, Jonathan Maisano.
you're the killer. Like
Oh,
even
big
people from
money,
Bay St.
let's
Louis are
go.
like, I just don't go north of I-10.
I know. That's exactly right.
Keep in mind, I-10 is the closest to the Gulf in the Bay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
it's kind of funny, it's about 45 minutes over here. I guess Jonathan's probably another 10 minutes from here. So
Yep.
it's almost an hour.
It is. It is.
Dude, look, from the
We
guy
can meet
that's
here.
driven literally up and down the Gulf Coast from Corpus Christi to Tampa,
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Ain't
doesn't mean
shit, huh?
Yeah, let's go.
Ain't no excuse.
No excuses. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm terrible. It's like I got my old Jeep and I'll drive it, 1 mile to the distillery and back home. And
Yeah.
And so I was like, what do you drive this? Like, I'm only going a mile, I'm
Yeah.
not cranking my diesel.
Had to broke out the
Yeah.
good truck today. Get over
Look,
here.
I,
Yeah, I
I
did.
saw that pretty truck when I pulled up, by the way.
Well, I mean, it's 10 years old, it's got a few dents. I mean, I guess my buddy would probably say whiskey dents, but I was
Those
sober
are
when
good.
Yeah.
Those are good memories, though, bro. That's what makes a truck.
So no regrets. No regrets on transitioning from law full time to the distillery to what you're doing right now, right?
Cool.
No, I talked to one of my buddies. He's a state senator now, goes to Jackson, and he's like, damn, he goes, why did I do what you did, And, but he used to do exactly what JJ does. He used to go offshore,
Right.
be a captain and stuff. And I think he ended up, I don't know what happened. He decided to go back to school and do law for some
Because he thought he was too pretty to do what I do for a living. I'm going to tell you right now, you can put that on there. He was too pretty to do what I
Well,
do.
I won't say that about him, because he,
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's good. That's a good stand-up. I like it.
I would say for a lawyer, he is very practical.
Okay.
And he is very
Y'all heard that. A
he's
lawyer to a captain.
Yeah.
No, he was a captain
to a lawyer. Yeah, the
Captain
other
to
way.
a lawyer.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
vice versa. Either way.
But he tells stories. He's like, used to. He goes, I'd get on my boat, and he goes, I'd go to get on. He goes, I'd have to go drag 2 of my guys out of the bar, throw them on the boat.
For sure. Yeah,
And then they're not good till the next day for you,
dude. You might wait 2 days. Legit story.
And I kind of think, I think everybody thinks that attorneys make a lot of money, and the truth of the matter is they do not.
I really
for the
think
most part.
I really think the attorneys fall in the line of the boat captain world.
It's a spectrum. It could be
Yes.
from like not a lot to a multimillionaire, right?
But
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's a spectrum.
It's a huge spectrum. I mean, but the average attorney in Mississippi, I think, makes maybe 50.
Yes.
And the
What-
amount of
what is
school
it?
y'all got to go to. Holy shit.
Everybody call
Ridiculous.
Saul.
Say again now.
Everybody call Saul.
Everybody call Paul or
Saul,
better call
Saul.
Saul.
Oh, Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude had no money. He was just living out of his
Yeah.
car, and he's a lawyer. You know,
Until
what
the
I'm saying?
mafia shows up.
Right.
Now
Right.
he's a
Yeah.
gazillionaire,
Or the
yeah.
meth dealer, which is
Or
what it is.
whatever it was.
It's
yeah.
I mean, I don't think lawyers is lucrative as people think. It's not as glamorous. I mean, you watch TV shows. Oh, that's great.
Right.
That shows that like 1% of the fun part of being a lawyer.
Correct.
Right.
It doesn't show the 99% of being a lawyer that sucks.
Just like
Yeah.
all that stupid medical shows like
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy and shit.
Well,
Yeah,
when you're
exactly.
growing
That's
up,
what talked
you get
you into it or
in
what?
kindergarten, you get the little. What do I want to be when I grow up? A
YouTuber.
doctor, a lawyer, or an astronaut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the 3.
Well, I think
Yeah.
for me it was the one profession that my dad hated.
Because he was
Oh,
medical,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, he's in the medical field, still is.
Yeah.
And so I mean, he hated attorneys with a purple passion.
So you're like,
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
stick it to you, Dad.
Here you go,
Well,
Pops.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't about that. It
Oh.
was about okay, let's find something that for one thing, we don't have a lot of knowledge in. Let's learn about it.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
then,
that's cool.
and then instead of having to hire one, now we are one.
Ah, so that's some little mafia kind of sound
Yeah.
stuff. I like
Definitely
that.
in-house.
I like
Yeah,
that.
so,
I like
so
that.
it's like now you understand what's going on, and now you kind of know, if somebody sends you a demand letter, it's like whatever,
Right.
go pound sand.
Correct.
Good luck.
Correct.
We're all counting
Correct.
on you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had an attorney call me
Right.
and told me he was going to have me arrested. I said, really? You go ahead and do that. I'll own you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not scared.
when
but,
you gonna get
Right.
here?
yeah, it was more like, okay, come on, because I'm ready to smoke you in the mouth. You know?
Yeah.
But my buddy used to be a
Throw
captain. He
punch.
goes, you know what we have attorneys, Matt? I says, I still haven't figured that out. And he goes, because we can't have duels anymore. Because we can't shoot each other.
That's
You
true.
can't fight to the death anymore.
Do you know how many times, legit story, true story, I've walked on the boat and I've watched like on a crew change and I've seen the crew come on and I go, that dude's not going to make it.
Yeah, I
Man,
mean,
I think I told you all the story about the guy that I went offshore with him. He was 18, the girlfriend, the whole night.
Oh yeah.
So to make a long story short, had a deckhand get on the boat and he was like, he's talking big game. I was like, hey, remember your girlfriend? He's like, yeah. I was like, did you knock the bottom out of that thing before you got? Yeah, he's bragging
JJ, we're still
big
live.
game.
Don't forget.
So, long and short of the story, we got back to the dock. He threw a sea bag on the dock. He was like, all right, this ain't for me.
He ain't coming back.
I think about 3 days offshore. 70. He made it 72 hours.
Yeah.
oh wow.
Not everybody's cut out for that lifestyle.
No.
I hate it. I
Well,
love it and I hate it. I do.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
definitely a
love-hate
love-hate,
relationship.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
I mean,
That's
I
it.
think it's any career though. I mean, I
Oh,
think
for sure.
people see the glamour side of it, and I think there's always that hard work that's behind it, and it's.
I think the sacrifice. I think that's the big
Yeah.
thing. Is it, especially in like your world and then again in our world. And there's a lot of guys that go out there for 6, 8, 10. You don't see your family.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with my dad. I mean, he's in the medical profession. He's on call every other week. I mean,
Yeah.
Right. Well, I
I
mean,
used to have people say, "Oh man, you're so lucky," and da 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 da.
but are you?
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, I can probably count on my hand the number of times my dad went fishing or hunting with me.
Yeah.
because
Right.
my dad's a
He's working.
workaholic.
Right.
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 I mean,
right.
and I get that honestly too. And now sometimes my wife gets mad and she's like, well, Matt, you got to come home. We got stuff to do. Cause I mean, me, I'd work 7 days a week. And she's like,
Right.
no, that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
You got to be home Saturday and Sunday, and
And I think that has a lot to do with it now.
You got kids?
yeah, I've got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. So
Oh,
we were
yeah.
talking,
Yeah.
we just wrapped up baseball. I was kind of assistant coach,
Absolutely.
first base.
That's awesome.
I never kind of, you get out there. I played football, but
Right.
you never kind of know like where's your boundary of what what the head coach wants you to do, and don't want to step on his toes. Kids are all different, I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely interesting,
It's life changing.
yeah, because I've got
So-
my kid that I can, like bite his head off, and
Yes.
he expects it, and
Yep.
he knows he's going to do right. And then you have other kids, you're not even biting their heads off. You're just trying to
Yeah.
have like a a conversation with them.
There's
And
the
they
ball.
just turn around and they're like, "You're not talking to me," and like totally ignore you. You're just like, if you were mine right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So my best friend, his son was coached T-ball by Kevin Green. Y'all know who Kevin Green is?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine me and a kid playing T-ball and Kevin Green from the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame linebacker who took ended Troy Aikman's career is your T-ball coach.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Yeah,
that'd be
it
tough.
was intense.
I don't mind
it was
like
great.
discipline my kids, but
Well,
other people's kids,
I
it's uncomfortable.
Well, that's part of
situation.
like comes
Hey,
out of
look,
me. I get that
when y'all
intensity.
see me throw the lines and I head offshore,
Yeah.
light them up.
Yeah, and I
that's-
feel the same way with people.
Well, that's what it is for teaching, anyways. Is what I'm saying. I can talk to my kids. And I'll talk to your kids because I know your kids. I've
Right.
grown up with them. I talk to your kids the same way.
correct.
But when somebody you don't know, it's weird talking to kids the way we talk to
Our
hey,
kids.
Yeah,
right,
right.
especially coaching them.
I mean, I'm going to take my kid offshore. He goes snapper fishing with me. We'll be 50 miles out. And I just treat him like he's one of the guys. I
Right.
don't treat him like he's a kid. I'm not going to put up with him acting like a kid.
Correct.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I got some Capri Suns and some kid snacks for him.
Yes,
But
you're gonna hold your own out here with the men.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm out there enjoying my time with him. But I mean, it's one of the times, I mean, if you're out there fishing, I mean, we're going to cuss. I
There ain't
mean,
no doubt.
yeah, the
I'd rather
game
you hear. I'd
changes.
rather hear it from me than somebody else.
and then one of the guys goes, and I says,
No.
no, it's
There's
one,
a lot of
he's one
water
the
to drink
guys.
between
Yeah.
here and that dock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the old school captain comes out at me, and everybody laughs because these guys know me on the beach, but they don't know me on the boat.
Yeah.
And on the boat, I'm a whole other person.
And I think that's kind of the way, like, I mean, it's just, you got to kind of flip that switch a little bit.
Oh, you do absolutely. And my wife will tell you. I come home and she's like, "Yeah, you got to turn that guy off."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that-
we
it
got-
takes a few days.
We got one of the bourbon guys here on the coast, Rocky Brooks, who was also See the Swamp. We mentioned on the intro.
Yeah.
He said his bourbon senses were going off, so he knew he needed to jump into the comments here. Rocky, I'm glad you joined in, man.
Rocky's got a good bourbon.
Rocky's got a. I've seen pictures online. He's got a real big bourbon selection. Rocky, let me know in the comments if you're still watching. What's your take on this? Have you had the cut above yet? Any of it? Any of the bottles that we drank today? But Matt, dude, I appreciate you coming out here and
Awesome,
talking with us.
dude.
I know it was a haul for you to come over this way. I love everything you're doing. I'm so glad we got to try your stuff. I'm today. I hadn't had it yet.
Yeah.
Like this is
I
for
didn't
real
either.
first
But I-
time on the show.
I got one more
I'm going to have
question.
to chastise Donnie about that.
Yeah.
He
He never
hey,
even gave it to us.
in his defense, and I hate to defend him because God knows he would throw me under the bus
Yeah.
in a friggin' heartbeat. He did say that he had it, and he probably has it at his house. I
Yeah,
know
sure he
he
does.
said it was good, and he told me that. I just hadn't. I still hadn't. had it,
I
so.
know going back, he's kind of a Canadian whiskey guy. So,
He was,
Oh,
but,
he's a
but
blended
no,
cat.
but I think that he was a Sigram 7 guy back when we were playing music and we were all broke and playing shows. It was Sigram 7, dude.
Yeah,
cheap,
Cheap.
yeah,
you can get a
sure.
whole half a gallon for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
$6 or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it didn't,
And we drank that, but now you go back because I've done it. Thinking about
Oh,
the
yeah,
old-
it's horrid.
Oh Jesus,
Yeah.
it's like, oh
And so
man,
look,
this is bad.
well,
But
like,
he's
I'm a
into the
Jim-
good. He's into the good stuff now.
I'm a
and
Jim
he, and he
Beam
did
guy,
co-sign your
and-
stuff. Yeah, he
And
did
you
tell
give
me
me
that.
a bottle of white label Jim Beam, and I'm gonna walk away from you.
I'll drink it still. I don't care.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like the black label.
Are
Well,
y'all-
the Devil's Cut is good.
the
for
double-
sure.
y'all doing-
double oak.
Yeah.
The
Are y'all
double
doing-
oak is phenomenal,
Yeah.
right?
I had a guy down in the Bay that has one of the liquor stores, and he's a what do they call it, sommelier?
Sommelier,
Yeah,
yeah,
sommelier,
Yeah, he's like, hey man, you got to try the double oak. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that big of a Jim Beam guy. They all kind of have a similar backbone to them. And I was like,
No, it's
the
a whole
double
nother
oak,
ball game.
the double oak was good.
Yeah.
Because I would get like some of their special release single barrel type stuff, and it was just like,
I would prefer like the Jim Beam Black over the white label.
oh yeah, definitely every day. But I mean, the double oak was really
But the
surprising.
double oak, the blue label.
I thought it was.
tell
Is it
everybody
green or blue?
It's blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
So y'all,
we
are
had
y'all
a bottle at the house.
Rocky said he hasn't had it yet, but he will grab a bottle. He likes ryes. He's into
Yeah,
ryes.
I
So,
got the rye right
Rocky,
there.
go
You-
check out the rye, man.
You might have to
It's-
make sure the stores have the rye. They're
Yeah.
starting to kind of pick it back up. It wasn't a big seller.
I think
It's
Rocky's
kinda
the type of guy who's
but
going to
it's
seek it
picked
out
up.
and
Yeah.
find it. He'll make it
Yeah.
happen.
Are y'all doing
Hey,
tours?
Don't be scared. Just pass
So
that over.
I
At your
will
distillery?
do tours if you have a group of like 10 or so.
Okay.
I
Right.
don't mind so much. But going back to that, I have a 4 and a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
If it's
You
a
got a
Saturday,
business
I
to
kind
run,
of
yeah.
You got to go on the baseball field. Yeah.
We need to partner up some kind of way because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's been way too long since we had a dedicated bourbon
Well,
conversation.
that
think
was
this
really
is
what I
great.
reached out to you. It's
Yeah.
like, hey man, I think it was. I went back and checked my Facebook. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. I reached out,
Gosh,
Yeah,
damn
I
it.
never saw it.
So
Somehow-
I'm gonna re-message on that Facebook so you can
Hey,
like, see the
screenshot it, and talk shit and say, hey, these guys suck. Because
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing
I
that
don't
because, and I'll tell you this, I talked to Donnie. I said, look, your boy Matt, like y'all are friends. We need to get him on the show. How can we facilitate this? Other than just sending you a cold message, but we did not mean to not respond. I can tell you that.
Well, I
for
mean,
sure.
life happens. I mean, like I know with the business and my kids, it's like
Yes.
you get that wrong time, and it's like, oh, I messaged you. Is like, man, I didn't see it. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's some days you get just a ton of messages. I mean, it's just like sorting through them all. And I know some people, it was on Facebook, and so I will say that I'm not a huge fan of that platform anymore. Haven't been for a while, but. It's like, how do you reach people? So this time I went through to email.
Correct. And we saw it. Yeah. Yep.
And so I went back a little bit to the old school, and not that
As
old,
soon as
but-
I saw it, I took a screenshot and said, Jared, boom,
Yep,
there
yep.
it is.
Yeah.
And I think my response to you, Joey, was been waiting on this one for a minute.
Wow, yeah.
And
exactly.
a lot of companies,
What was-
like, they don't do their Facebook. Like, they have somebody
Right,
that does
correct.
it, so they don't ever
Right.
see it.
It was
So-
pretty cool because I was sitting at the house and they're like, "Hey, dude, we got your boy coming on," and I was like,
In
"So and so
Yeah.
from whatever," and they're like, "No, the dude from Kiln." I was like, "I'm grabbing the bottle. I'm on my way."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Well,
glad you did too. By the way.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, one of my favorite places to fish down there, Grand Isle. How are they coming back down there, Jay?
So South Louisiana is that place will always have a special place in my heart,
yeah.
regardless.
It's still
South
tore up.
Louisiana is Grand Isle has finally got water and power.
Okay.
That makes
I've
sense.
been following Bridgeside. They got some of their cabins
Correct.
back.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of guys that are showing back up. Lafourche Parish, I until you. So these guys know I went down 3 days after the hurricane, and when I remember Katrina, I remember all the
Yeah.
major hurricanes, and I can't tell you enough the wind damage, like atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Like, it legit, the towns are gone. Golden Meadow, Galeana, Lockport. I mean,
So can you
like,
speed through Golden Meadow now?
no, hell no. that one cop will still throw you below.
Still go to
Yeah.
jail. There's only 2 cops in Gold
Yeah.
Meadow, but they'll pull you over.
Both of them. They get you on the north and the south side.
Yeah.
But no, South Louisiana will always have a special place in my heart. Especially the Lafourche Parish. When I walk away from the oil and gas industry altogether, that place will always be kind of like my second home,
Yeah.
And so to see those guys come back is huge. I got a lot of buddies in Grand Isle that from the fishing side of the world, and they're starting to make a comeback. So
Good deal.
if you want to go fishing, I'm going to tell you go Grand Isle Venice all day
Yeah,
long.
no doubt.
Grand-
We're not.
Grand Isle is we're not going. Grand Isle's making a comeback. They got water and they got power. So show your ass up, call
That's
your
it.
local
Build it
charter
back.
boat guy, and go make that dude some money.
Probably
There you
one of
go.
the best days was about 10 miles out of Caminata Pass, going out of, come out of Bridgeside Marine. And go
Right.
About 10 miles on the platforms. We call it the mangrove hole with a group of guys that go. So, I mean, they would just slaughter the mangroves.
Mangrove's
limits.
delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Kill 'em
one of
all.
my favorite, and
What
they'll
are they in
catch,
Louisiana? 12 per person? 10 per person?
10 or 12, yeah.
yeah,
It's similar to Florida's. I know
Yeah.
that.
It's-
Ours is
it's-
10 here.
it's a lot. And some of
fill
these
the boat
mangroves
up.
they're catching are like size of red snake.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's free fish.
And so we're out
Yeah,
there,
that's what I
this,
call 'em.
this big boat like JJ runs, big crew boat pulls up. I'm like, man,
A little bit more than a crew boat, but yeah, we'll go with
yeah. Well, this crew boat pulls up.
Yeah.
I'm running mud boat.
And
yeah,
they
we
back up, and this prop washer's just spinning it out. Of course, we're sitting right there at the gorilla bar. They need to back up, so we have to get out the way. And so I get off the rig, I spot lock out there, 50 yards or so. And so,
Y'all heard that spot lock?
Yeah.
DP.
Yep.
Maybe the future. Get
Yep.
your shit together.
man, it's great. My buddy first is like, "Oh, you don't need that." Right. I got
No
it. He's like,
shit.
I'm
he's
telling
like,
you right
"This
now,
is phenomenal." He goes, "Why didn't we do this
best
sooner?"
shit, the best shit they ever made in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I own
no.
it. I own one.
We boated 5 Kobe, and a guy got seasick. We were one shy of the limit. One of the guys got seasick, and the box was full. We run out of ice, and we had to go in.
That's a great problem to have.
But
Yeah.
that prop wash, when they spin up those prop wash and those gorilla bars, they
Yeah.
just turned them on. I mean, we use the my buddy likes to call it the Pascagoula rig, the offshore rig.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, we just murdered
So
them.
we were talking about that, and we were talking about mud boats and crew boats. So the boats I'm on are 280, 310 foot long, a lot bigger than the crew boat, but they're great boats.
Yeah, that's kind of what this was. It's like a
Mud boat, yeah. So we carry
Yeah.
a lot of below deck cargo. So drilling operations, blah blah. And we're not going to get into that. That was if you want to check that out, check
Get
out.
to
Check out
episode 31.
episode 31.
Episode 31. You can hear about all that shit.
Yeah, so it was cool. But the crew boats, man. So those guys, you're talking about a 4 prop, 10,000 horsepower 180-foot crew boat. I mean, they literally carry people out to the rig, drop them off, give them their groceries, and leave. And they do it in 30 knots plus, and they do it in all weather.
They haul
Yeah.
Those guys, look,
aspirin.
those guys are my heroes.
Yeah.
On crew change day, when the crew boat shows up, everybody's in a good mood.
This was just one of those platforms, I guess, like the guys got on and like looked at some stuff, checked the gauges, and got back off. They weren't on very long.
So they're probably on production.
Yeah.
That,
They scared all
rig
the
was
mangoes away.
no, they probably scared them to the other side of the rig, legit.
Yeah, and so, but I guess just all that prop wash and stuff knocked some
Stirred
stuff up.
everything up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and those Kobe just, I mean, they went.
Here we
Well,
are.
I mean, once you get it in the prop wash, most people when you get to the rig, forward, back,
in and
forward,
out
back,
of
and the
gear.
bubbles
Yeah,
will come
yeah.
up.
It bubbles them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he was blowing some stuff off of that.
Yeah.
puppy.
We saw 3 this weekend.
At
Saw a bunch of
10,000
mangroves.
horsepower, I
We
promise
saw a
you
bunch
he
of
did.
amberjack, a bunch of red snapper. So it's live in the Gulf. We just
The
need,
Gulf is the best place in the world to fish.
yeah. If
Look,
we
It's
just
the best
cut-
place in the world.
if we just stop
1,000%.
if we just stop tearing the rigs
Madeira,
up and
Yeah.
floating them over,
Yeah.
just cut them off and knock them over.
Yeah.
So like
definitely.
you got places like Mag Bay and a few other places around the world that like marley fishing, the whole nine.
It ain't the same.
I still think the Gulf's the hottest bite in the world right now.
That's the shit.
Yeah.
Matt, where are you most active on social media or website? Like people are hearing this, they're in your stuff. They want to follow you more and stay up to date with what you're doing. Not only just go grab a bottle from the liquor
Get
store.
a hat. Come
Yeah,
by for a
you know
tour, how you
what's
do
the best place to send them to?
Facebook. I mean, that's mainly what I do. I mean,
Okay.
I guess because when I was in college, that was a platform.
Yeah.
I think I've got an Instagram account. I think it's
We're
just
the
kinda,
old dudes now.
What is the Facebook? Crittenden Distillery LLC.
No, I think it's like at CD Whiskey. So it's just
Okay.
the initials.
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
Well,
shorten
hold
it up a
on,
little bit.
because the only thing I got left in this world is Instagram. So
Okay.
let's peek
And
this.
so, yeah, my sister-in-law kind of does the Instagram, but I think it just kind of piggybacks off of Facebook.
Correct.
Aren't they like the same company or something? now?
They are. And if you post on
Yeah.
Instagram, it can go straight over to
Facebook is definitely Crittenden Distillery LLC. That's you.
Yeah,
right?
it's Crittenden Distillery
Crittenden
LLC, but I
yeah.
think there's like whatever the shortcut is, like at CD Whiskey or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Like if you share the links, like Facebook,
Are
whatever.
y'all pretty active on there? Do y'all share a lot of stuff or?
Yeah, I used to share a ton. I'm kind of been slacking lately.
You
I
gotta
think-
pick it up. You
I
gotta
think
pick it up.
COVID hit, and it's
Yep.
just like, you kind of get a little complacent.
We need to stay up to date though. We need to Joey and I's got some events coming up later on at the end of the year that we need to have y'all out there. Like
So
you do like a
yeah.
booth and a tent and like a taste
Yeah,
testing thing.
I got my own tent, tablecloth, table I set up. You know, it's printed. I got it done locally in the past. You know, they put my logo and stuff on it.
Yep.
And big black tent with white letters, easy to see. And we set up and kind of have a good time. Usually I bring either my wife will come with me, or a lot of times my mom will come with me.
It's
And-
like us.
That's cool.
You
That's
know,
what's
just
up.
have somebody kind of help you if you need some water or something, or if you got to step out for a minute.
Correct.
And you know, they know the products. And
Yeah.
we did beer and bacon festival.
That's
Wife usually
sweet.
does that with me.
Yeah.
And you know, just stuff like that. We love doing events. You know, get some exposure, especially over this side. You know, you get, like I said, you get to Ocean Springs. It's an hour away.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean,
There's a lot of bourbon drinkers over here. Though.
yeah. I mean, my
the cool
fishing
ones.
my fishing buddy. I mean, he works at Chevron in Pascagoula.
Yeah.
He drives every day over to Pascagoula. And so I
From
mean,
the Kiln,
Diamond Head, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's originally Killbilly. So
Yeah.
he's
Uh,
making
he-
making a lick.
he's a Ladner, so I mean, you know, he's
Yeah.
He shoulda went to-
Oh, he's a Ladner.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
my
should have went to
That's-
DuPont. Why did he go to Chevron?
I know.
Well, you know,
a bunch
like
of 'em, yeah,
as big as I am, he's small. You know, that's
I
not
know
not-
it ain't Buddy Ladner.
And
You
anyway,
heard that,
but
buddy?
look, he's one of those crazy guys that repels off of those towers out there at Chevron.
No,
Oh,
Oh, wow.
like that.
So
And,
he's loaded.
Well, you know, he does the non-destructive testing and all that type stuff. You
Yeah,
know, and I mean,
right.
it's really cool when he talks about it. And but yeah, no, I'm not a big heights fan. I've gotten better, but you know, fat guys fall hard. You know, they say a pound of feathers and a pound of lead falls in the same.
Yeah.
Only in a vacuum, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe you.
So,
yeah.
My pops told me, he said, look, it's not the fall that's the bad part.
It's the land.
It's,
Yeah.
it's that sudden stop that
Yeah,
gets you.
at the end.
I was like,
Yeah.
Dude, today was a good one. I knew it was going to
Yes.
be. We tasted some great bourbons. Y'all can see some of it right here on the
Phenomenal
on the
bourbons.
glass
Not
on the
any of
table.
that.
So y'all
Well,
get
no, it's
that
right there. They can see it.
Yeah.
Matt, dude, thank you for making the drive over
Yeah,
here.
appreciate
I'm
it.
glad it finally happened. Let's
Yeah,
not make
for
this a
real.
one-off. Let's do it again.
Nah.
Anytime you got anything to promote, anytime you got a batch coming off or whatever, like
Put it
let
in
us
our group.
know. Come back over here and let's jam it up, or let's just have some bullshit bourbon conversations because
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we want to start doing here more often is just
Yeah,
having
for
some
sure.
lighthearted, fun talk, dude. I
Yeah.
love the merch. I love the product. Everything we tasted today was great.
Amazing.
If you're watching this on the live or the replay or on the audio side of it, please go to your local liquor store if you're a bourbon fan or if you like to rye, whatever you're into.
And
Go
request
check it
it
out.
if they don't have it.
Yes, go check it out, man.
Tell
Local.
them to bring it in house.
You said
real.
4 distilleries in the state, but I only heard you say 2 of them that are even doing bourbon. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm the only one that does 100% grain to bottle.
That's what I'm talking
So
about. So,
I'm the only 100% whiskey distillery.
yes.
I'm not diversified. I do whiskey. I focus on it. I've always kind of believed be the best at what you're good at and focus on it. Don't
I
say
love it,
I do
dude.
100 different things.
I think
No.
it's awesome, dude.
I'm
I thought-
only drinking this.
Yeah, I was
from
gonna say
now on.
that's what I was thinking the same shit. On this show, we may only drink your shit.
We're
from now
only
on.
drinking this.
as
from
far as
now
if we
on.
provide it. Somebody else wants to bring some other stuff in, we'll talk about it. Whatever.
We only from the
we might have to talk about
I'm
being the
still gonna-
official
look,
bourbon
yeah,
of
of
Brownwater.
Brownwater.
Well, I'm going to leave this with y'all
So-
guys so y'all have some rye and 2 different bottles of bourbon.
When you get a Florida boy to move to Mississippi and say, that's pretty good bourbon.
So what
You
part
get
of
some.
Florida?
Destin.
Oh, you weren't that far away.
Yeah.
No, I was 182 miles.
I went down to Homosassa, Crystal River.
I got nothing to say.
Man, you talk about they call it the nature coast.
Hey,
I was-
look,
I
they
was
got
blown
tall
away.
trees and they ain't got a lot of shade underneath them.
I was kind of blown away by that. I mean, you hear about that area. It wasn't like Destin has really gotten like so many like commercialized.
It's
Yeah,
too,
oh, yeah.
too much traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's for
So,
sure.
look, being a Florida boy, I'll always have part of me will always live in Florida.
Yeah.
And I tell my wife that all the time. I go, look, you moved me to Mississippi, you got lucky.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
You
drove
got
my
a
wife
good
all the
spot,
way
though.
all the way south. from-
I found a great place in Mississippi, and I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I
Part
love
of
it.
me will always be a Florida boy. Like I'll always have that, like, the Florida ball cap with all the Mississippi registration on the boat.
I get it.
But South Florida is a whole nother. Like you pass Gainesville, which is the greatest college in the world. Go Gators!
yeah, but
there
Homosassa
you
and
go,
all
just
that's north
saying
of Gainesville, isn't it?
It is. But once you pass Gainesville, dude, it's a whole other world.
Oh yeah, some of it's like little Cuba kind of, huh? Or
What?
Yeah.
Habla español?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, my uncle used to live down there and you kind of
Poquito.
had to keep moving.
It's
You
a
just-
great.
you
It's
just-
a great place.
You
It-
just
it
probably
is.
you probably alienated like 90% of the audience when you said the Gainesville comment about the Gators.
They'll be
but
okay.
That's all right. No,
They'll survive another day. Go
Yeah.
Gators.
I think we usually beat them when they
Great.
come to Ole Miss.
great.
Yeah.
Damn, I love it.
Like,
I
what
love
was
it. I
that?
love it.
2000?
Yeah.
God, college
Yeah.
football.
Stand
like,
down,
right
Captain.
Here.
Stand down.
Right here.
Hey, great show today. Thanks everybody for listening.
Go
Matt,
Gators.
thanks for being here. JJ, thanks for jumping in too,
Yeah, man,
dude.
no problem.
Bourbon
Thanks for
aficionado, man. We love having you on
Love
the show.
y'all.
31 to 139 is too long of a gap. We need to fix that. So,
Yeah, we're gonna fix that really soon.
all right. Thanks everybody for watching on live, the replays, and in the podcast land. We got a lot of more cool shit coming for you. So be sure to support this local bourbon. I don't want to see anybody
Absolutely.
that I talk to that hasn't tried it. Right?
Yeah.
Don't make the mistake I
Yeah.
made. Go try it.
Legit.
Go get it.
If you show up and say you haven't tried it, I'm
Yep.
gonna throw punch you.
And
That's
you're
it.
gonna get in some of our events with us and come.
Yeah,
and come
yeah,
train
just
us
let me
around.
know.
All right, love it.
Yeah.